Cool Figure TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome to the House of Revolution. You know I'm your humble host, the Yao Ming of Revolution. And we got to get back into the P. Diddy story. It's a lot of updates, a lot been going on. So, but first, be sure to wipe your feet. That means hit the like button, like, share, subscribe. Let everybody know Court Figure Live. And this guy, P. Diddy, got so much going on, we cannot overlook the cartel suing him, claiming he ruined they thriving drug business. They claiming it was all good, and the P. Diddy got involved in their business.
An alleged affiliate of the Sinaloa CARTEL has filed a lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs, claiming after trying to solicit the gang for business opportunities, Combs ruined this man's livelihood. We're going to break down these shocking allegations and, most importantly, the judge's very firm decision. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
We got a lot to look at tonight on this guy.
Another perhaps unexpected development in the Sean Diddy Combs saga we want to talk to you about. This as the hip-hop and rap artist and producer is facing multiple lawsuits alleging sex trafficking, assault, rape, and as the reported investigation into human trafficking out of the Southern District of New York continues, with a grand jury allegedly being impaneled and hearing evidence, although, to be clear, no charges or arrests have been made. While all this is going on, we have a new development for you that I want to talk about. A man named Alfredo P. Gonzalez has filed a defamation action against Combs and Bad Boy Entertainment. And this is out of New York. This is in federal court, suing for $666,000 in damages, very specific there. Defamation, of course, is publishing a false statement against someone that damages or
666. Is that crazy, y'all? Did y'all hear that? He's suing them for 666. Is that a sign from the people? We on your ass. The cartel suing Diddy for $666,000. That's crazy.
Or harms their reputation. But there is something to note about Mr. Gonzalez, and that is that he is actually locked up. Yes, he is currently incarcerated in the Centennial Correctional Facility out in Colorado. And apparently, Mr. Gonzalez alleges that he is a member of the Sinaloa drug cartel. This is the cartel that is considered to be one of the oldest drug distribution organizations out in Mexico, that it has trafficked everything from marijuana, cocaine, heroin, meth, fentanyl into the United States. This is according to a Congressional Research Service report. And he seems to be filing this action pro se, meaning he is acting as his own attorney. He's representing himself in this. Hey, so I want to thank Upside for sponsoring this episode of Sidebar and making episodes like this happen. Upside is a free app that gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas. Laura Taylor Swain out of the Southern District of New York issued an order that lays out the allegations and the law, and I'm going to go through it with you. And I won't reveal just yet what the order says, what the judge's decision is. We're going to get there. But first, let's talk about this. So the order reads, quote, on or about May 5th, 2021, plaintiff received a telephone call from an unidentified business partner of Combs. The business partner told plaintiff that Combs was, quote, wanting to set up some business deals with the Sinaloa cartel.
Hey, you know what? This is crazy because Big Meat said, anybody paid attention? Big Meat said, the plug told on me. He said his plugs told on him, that the Mexicans told on him. Nobody ever paid attention. Well, here, the Sinaloa cartel is in court documents telling the feds Diddy got in touch with them and want to do business. You cannot, listen to me, salute Queen, you cannot do any business with the Sinaloa cartel. You can't open up legal businesses with a cartel. That is called money laundering. You ain't got to move no kilos, no heroin, no ecstasy, no meth. If you open up any legal businesses with a cartel, that's money laundering. The cartel is saying P. Diddy was trying to money launder, and it told the feds that. That's crazy.
Plaintiff responded by saying that he was always willing to set up business deals with the rich for drugs. Combs' business partner stated that he was looking to make a deal to get some young girls and boys for a party in New York. While plaintiff wanted to speak to
the cartel say P. Diddy wants some young boys for his party.
Combs himself, he told the business partner that such an arrangement could not happen because the cartel did not sex traffic underage kids. The business partner told plaintiff that he had nothing to worry about. Combs had everything on lock street, slang for no one can F with us. Plaintiff told the business partner that there was no money in sex trafficking. The business partner then told plaintiff.
That's crazy, man. This is crazy. That's why the cartel is saying P. Diddy got with them and say, hey, could you ship us some minors, boys and girls? Boys and girls. The cartel say, hey, punk, we ain't in all that. You too freaky. P. Diddy like, no, we got it on lock on this end. Just send us some underage minors. This is court. This ain't allegations. This ain't word on the street. This ain't Jaguar right. This is what the Sinaloa cartel told the feds.
Plaintiff that he was making a big mistake for not taking the offer from Combs.
Absolutely, bro.
The call ended without an agreement. Okay, let's stop right there before we even move on. On one hand, for anybody who's been following our coverage here on Sidebar, has been following what's been going on with Sean Diddy Combs, this in many ways fits with the narrative that we have heard already in other lawsuits against Sean Diddy Combs. For example, in the lawsuit filed by Combs' former producer, Rodney Lil Rod Jones, he claims Combs and others consorted with underage girls, that they trafficked them, that Combs had spiked their drinks. Another lawsuit filed by a woman named Liza Gardner alleges Combs sexually assaulted her when she was 16 years old back in the 90s.
We're going to hear from Rodney.
There's another allegation that he gang raped a 17-year-old girl. So these allegations laid out by Mr. Gonzalez are consistent with what we have heard already in prior lawsuits.
You know you're a disgusting punk when the cartel say, hey man, we ain't in all that. That's crazy. The cartel say he was too big a pervert for them to even do business with. And they told it to the feds.
Now, we don't know if Mr. Gonzalez, his claims are true or not, if any of these conversations happen. And I think a fair question could be, why was Combs or his associate trying to reach out to Gonzalez specifically? The gang aspect, I will say, is interesting too. Why Combs would want to affiliate with a renowned gang like cartel, like the Sinaloa cartel. While we have not seen any allegations that Combs was associated with the Sinaloa cartel or wanting to be a part of that organization.
They told you he would.
There have been allegations against Combs regarding illegal firearms possession, involvement in shootings, an attempted assassination, illegal narcotics possession and distribution, intimidation, racketeering. So there have been these kinds of gang-affiliated allegations asserted against Sean Combs. And to be clear, though, these are all allegations. Combs hasn't been criminally charged. He hasn't been found liable in a civil suit, but you get the idea. Now, moving on. The order from the judge goes on to say, quote, the same unidentified business partner of Combs later communicated again with plaintiff, asking once again if he could help get some underage boys and girls over the U.S. border and that, quote, plaintiff could come to the party and watch the shows they put on. Plaintiff refused. He told the business partner that he wanted no part in their sex offender S, not to contact him, that Sinaloa wants no part in their sex offender S. Plaintiff also insulted Bad Boy. The business partner then told plaintiff that he can make life hell because of how much power he has in the streets. Plaintiff told him to do what you do. Now, the order...
Now, I wonder who was setting up who. Was P. Diddy trying to set them up to be on the books trafficking underage? Because why would they call the cartel to traffic kids if you ain't heard that's what the cartel is doing? Like, I heard on the street I heard on Fox News y'all was kidnapping some of the Venezuelan kids. You got any of them? Like, what type of nonsense? Like, is they wired? Hey, you got the stuff. You got the crack rock. I mean, the stuff. What type? So, because the way the cartel is reacting, because I don't believe the cartel, salute Queen, I don't believe the cartel is above trafficking no kids. We ain't that foolish, y'all. The way they reacted, it's like they knew not to trust Diddy. Like, oh, we don't get into that sex offender type stuff. Man, please. They don't got no morals. But they're pretending like they don't do that type of stuff when Diddy's business partner is asking them to traffic minors. They asking for minors.
Then says that, quote,
revolutionary salute to our queen, Eve to Eve. She said $5 challenge for the war chest. I appreciate the donation to the war chest, Queen. Revolution is a way of life. Absolutely appreciate that.
Quote, due to Combs' defamation of plaintiff, he has lost all of his business contacts in the state of New York. Plaintiff was informed by his own business partner that he cannot do business that helps bad boy out, that this has cost plaintiff a lot of money. Now, my initial reaction was this seemed to be a little bare bones, right? Where is the defamation? What exactly was said? What were the statements that were made? How do you know that you lost all of your business contacts or your business livelihood because of Sean Combs? And what business are we talking about exactly? Well, those issues were kind of explored by Judge Swain, but in a different way. She explains how a court has to dismiss a complaint.
He telling the feds this happened. If the feds get a court order to go through his call log in his phone and see that it's messages from P. Diddy's business associate to him, that's a wrap. But like I say, I don't really know who was setting up who, because P. Diddy could have been trying to set up a certain branch of the Sinaloa CARTEL, and it seemed like they was owning his bullshit.
For a variety of reasons.
Because they not above
if the complaint is frivolous, if the complaint is malicious, meaning it was filed for improper purposes or reasons, or, and this is a very big one, fails to state a claim upon which relief may be granted. That's another way of saying, even if we take all of your allegations as true, you haven't asserted an actual legal claim that the court can remedy. I'll give you an example. If I sue my friend because he says the sky is green, there's no legal claim. There's nothing I can sue him under. Now here, Judge Swain ruled that Mr. Gonzalez's claims are frivolous, meaning it lacks an arguable basis either in law or fact. Quote, plaintiff, without any legal basis, appears to assert claims of defamation against the defendants, seeking damages arising from injury incurred to his illegal...
Once again, I don't believe this dude in the Sinaloa CARTEL thought he was going to be able to win any money out of P. Diddy. And I want y'all to remember, how much is he suing P. Diddy for? $600,000. $666. Those sixes look kind of devilish to me.
Drug smuggling and sales business caused by the defendant's alleged defamation of plaintiff because he refused to arrange sex trafficking of underage children for the defendants, including what appears to be international sex trafficking. Since there are no apparent legal bases for any of these claims, the court additionally dismisses plaintiff's claims as frivolous. Now, keeping that in mind, that wasn't the only issue that the judge had either. No, in order to sue somebody in court, you need what's called standing, meaning in order to sue, you need to show that you suffered an injury, that it is connected to what the defendant allegedly did, and that the court can provide a favorable remedy to you. And when we say injury, as Judge Swain explains, it's, quote, a plaintiff must show that he or she suffered an invasion of a legally protected interest that is concrete and particularized and actual or imminent, not conjectural or hypothetical. And by the way, federal courts only have jurisdiction over cases and controversies where a plaintiff has standing. So here, Judge Swain explains that Gonzalez has no standing, and therefore the court has no jurisdiction over this matter. Why? Well, it was kind of alluded to before in when she said these claims were frivolous, because she says, quote, plaintiff appears to allege that the defendants have injured him with regard to his illegal drug smuggling and sales business by defaming him. Because plaintiff's business is not alleged to be a legally protected interest, however, plaintiff has not shown that the defendants have caused him an injury in fact for the purpose of establishing standing. In other words, you are alleging you're breaking the law. And a court of law doesn't recognize providing a legal remedy if your criminal operations were harmed. You can't use the law to further or aid an alleged criminal activity, right? And she even cites a case that says, quote, standing would not be recognized for a smuggler who asserted that his drug traffic was disrupted. Although the smuggler had been injured, in fact, the asserted interest is not one the courts will protect. And that makes sense, right? So in this order, the judge dismissed Mr. Gonzalez's claims. And she even added how usually federal district courts will allow a plaintiff who's representing themselves to amend or modify a complaint to fix the problems. But here, she says it would be futile. There's no point. This isn't like he cited the wrong case law or the wrong statute or he didn't sign it. The whole basis of his argument doesn't work. This can't be cured with an amendment. So therefore, she will not allow Gonzalez to submit an amended complaint. And so this action was dismissed. End of the story. Combs doesn't even have to respond. So bottom line here, you know when they say how anyone can sue anybody for anything? Yeah, sure, that's true. But it doesn't mean the case will go anywhere. And it doesn't mean there won't be consequences. Just an interesting little development in the Sean Combs story that we saw from
I love that sound. You know why? Because it's time now to take a look at what's trending, including why Matthew Perry's 2022 memoir is now being examined in a new light. And you won't believe the lawsuit that has Hollywood insiders shaking their head. Paula Froelich is here with the scoop. Paula, great to see you. Let's start with the tragic death of Matthew Perry. People looking at his memoir again. Why?
They're looking at it again because obviously he died of ketamine.
Right.
However, in the memoir, he writes about ketamine and how much he loved it. And he said it was like being hit by a happy shovel. And the other issue with that is he did say, you know, the hangovers were after the ketamine were horrible. However, it was so perfect for him. He felt that it should have been called Maddie. It's an oppressive sense. And there's someone else in the room with
He said that?
Me. Yeah. So
Nipsey Cartel is trying to sue Diddy for a more serious turn. Let's talk about Diddy. This is a weird development. The Sinaloa drug cartel is trying to sue Diddy for defamation.
Yep.
Why is the cartel suing this media mogul?
Okay, this is insane, and I love it so much. A guy named Alfredo Gonzalez, who works for the Sinaloa cartel, sued Diddy for $666,000, 666, saying that he lost his drug business due to Diddy. So he claims Diddy had come up to him and tried to get him to traffic minors to his parties. And you know, Alfredo Gonzalez, being the upstanding member of the Sinaloa cartel, said, no, I don't do that. No, I don't traffic minors, but would you like some drugs? And they were like, if you don't traffic minors, he's going to ruin you because he's so powerful on the street. Alfredo is saying he was axed out and his business suffered because he refused to traffic minors. And the judge threw it all out because I don't know if you know this, but I'm obsessed with Judge Judy. And Judge Judy's number one rule is you have to come to court with clean hands. And you can't sue somebody for a business that's illegal anyway.
Right.
There was no clean hands for Alfredo. So it was tossed out, but it is interesting, and it's interesting to see if the federal government is going to call Alfredo, because they are looking into Diddy for trafficking of minors.
Diddy also was revealed as an investor in one of Elon Musk's company. Why is that coming up now? Why is this important?
It's important for so many reasons. Number one, when Elon Musk bought X, it was worth over $40 billion. It is now worth around $20 billion. So all money is gone, and they are basically saying, hey, he's one of the investors named. And it's kind of nuts. People are like, how much? But in order to be a named investor, he would probably have had to have invested over $1 million. So he's definitely out his cash because X is making $0 these days. But, you know, people are like, why would he want to do this? Well, because he wants to be able to hang out with Elon Musk.
Right.
You know, he's like, well, he hangs out with cool people. I'm going to hang out with him. He's into the tech world. I'd like to be into it. And, it's all just slime upon slime.
The partnership that never really happened.
Yeah.
Paula from
Lil Rod is breaking his silence for the first time since filing a scathing civil lawsuit against now disgraced rapper P. Diddy. This comes on the heels of Diddy's team wanting that very lawsuit thrown out, filing a lengthy motion to do just that. But is it enough? And what's up with that federal investigation against him? The feds raided his homes almost 6 months ago. Where's the arrest warrant? Okay, so before we tackle all that, because there's a lot going on, we first have to mention the initial lawsuit against Diddy, who, by the way, goes by multiple names. P. Diddy, Puffy, Puff Daddy, all the above, but his legal name is Sean Combs, and today I'm gonna call him Diddy. So in November 2023, there was a bombshell lawsuit filed against Diddy by his ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, who you probably know as the singer Cassie. This lawsuit was groundbreaking because it was the first time we heard any of the shocking allegations against Diddy. Cassie's lawsuit claimed Diddy physically abused her during their relationship and manipulated her, forcing her to take drugs and even forcing her to sleep with prostitutes. In one of the quickest resolutions I've seen, this lawsuit was actually settled outside of court just 1 day after it was filed. But it was too late. The damage was already done. A slew of other lawsuits then followed, many of them under the New York Survivor Act. That's the same ruling that allowed Cassie to file her suit. It stated that survivors could file civil suit against their alleged perpetrators for a 1-year time frame. And during this time, the statute of limitations didn't matter. Several other Diddy accusers used this to their benefit, filing civil suit for allegations dating back to the 90s and early 2000s. If you're familiar with Diddy's case, you probably recognize the names Joy Dickerson-Neal, Liza Gardner, and Jane Doe. Joy Dickerson-Neal alleges that Diddy assaulted her back in the 90s when she was a college student in New York. She says Diddy even recorded video of the assault and then passed it around to other people. Liza Gardner says she was also assaulted by Diddy in the early 90s in New York, and that Diddy later choked her to the point that she lost consciousness. As for Jane Doe, she says Diddy assaulted her when she was just 17 years old back in 2003. She says he flew her out to a recording studio in New York before sexually assaulting her. Jane Doe even includes some pictures in her lawsuit proving that she was in fact at Diddy's studio. These lawsuits all made some major news, and we even reported on them. But it was this next lawsuit, the one filed by Rodney Jones, that really caused a stir. Jones is also known as Lil Rod, who worked as a producer on Diddy's Love album. His civil suit against Diddy and some other high-profile names spans nearly 100 pages and includes pictures of what he calls some serious illegal activity. That's things like gun trafficking, drug trafficking, and racketeering, which Lil Rod alleges Diddy is responsible for. In fact, he says Diddy is the ringleader of this major scheme. According to the suit, Diddy himself sexually assaulted Lil Rod and forced him to have sex with a prostitute. These allegations made major news, and what followed made even more headlines: the federal raids on 2 of Diddy's homes in both Los Angeles and Miami. Those raids happened way back in March, and since then, even more civil suits have been filed against Diddy, and some also filed against his son. So that brings the grand total of lawsuits against Diddy to 9. One of those, as we mentioned, was settled outside of court. That was Cassie's lawsuit. But now Diddy is hoping to have another one thrown out, and that's Lil Rod's suit. Just this week, Lil Rod spoke out for the first time since that lawsuit was filed in an interview with Rolling Stone. He commented on Diddy saying, quote, "He's a monster. He'll do whatever is necessary to get exactly what he wants. He doesn't take no for an answer. He told me himself, I'll smack my mama." Anybody who can say that even jokingly is a monster. He's nothing to be played with. Lil Rod continued saying, quote, "For a person whose brand is Love Records and changed their name to Love and named their kid Love, he doesn't show love. He's just marketing." Lil Rod says he received major backlash since filing this lawsuit, saying, quote, "It's killing me." Here I am standing up for justice and for what I believe is right for my life, and I'm being punished. This interview was published just one day after Diddy's team motioned to dismiss the very suit. Diddy's team lays out their argument over more than a dozen pages. So let's jump right in with legal analyst and trial attorney Dina Saig-Dahl. So, Dina, the reason I wanted to talk to you today is about this new motion filed by Diddy's team. It's 33 pages, kind of long, going through and saying, here's why Lil Rod's lawsuit should be thrown out. So just from the start, taking a look at it, do you think they make a good argument?
The thing about the motion to dismiss is it is a very preliminary way to get a lawsuit kicked out of court. It almost always fails because it's not that hard to overcome a motion to dismiss. The purpose of it is essentially is that people shouldn't have frivolous lawsuits against them. You want them to have like enough facts to back them up, to be connected to a law, that if you're going to take somebody to court and make them pay all those legal fees, that there is a decent, actual factual allegation that in connection to a law. So that's really the stage this lawsuit is at. Like, did Ronnie Jones give enough facts? Was he specific enough in his lawsuit that they are actually connected to the laws that he's alleging here in this lawsuit? Diddy tries to make the argument that he's being too vague, he's not being specific enough, but it's very hard at this point to completely kick somebody out, because on the flip side, you don't want a frivolous lawsuit, but on the flip side, people should be able to have their day in court. And if he win this motion to dismiss, it would completely give Ronnie Jones a right to have his day in court. So that's what the court balances here on a motion to dismiss. Are there enough facts so this is not a frivolous lawsuit? But on the other hand, if he does give enough, but maybe not enough to win in court, so to speak, but enough to show that more facts are going to be coming. This is a long road. Lawsuits are long roads. He should be able to have his day in court. And that's what the judge is going to look at when he's looking at both the complaint and the motion to dismiss.
To quote Diddy's motion, Lil Rod's lawsuit includes countless tall tales, shameless celebrity name drops, and irrelevant images. Yet despite all its hyperbole and lurid theatrics, the SAC, that's the second amended complaint, fails to state a single viable claim against any of the Combs defendants. And as you can expect, Diddy's legal team lays them out point by point. So let's start at the top. The first one they were talking about is the RICO enterprise that is alleged. Basically, they're saying that these allegations of RICO or racketeering don't really hold up. And this one's interesting to me because oftentimes we see this as a criminal charge, racketeering, or for instance, in the R. Kelly case, that's a big part of what we saw in the federal case there. So it's a little different that this is civil rather than criminal. What do you think about Diddy's team and their argument here?
I mean, he's obviously has good lawyers. He's trying the best he can to say, it's not enough just to say that this happened. You have to give enough as to what, where, when, how. That's really their Diddy's arguments. You're not telling us enough about when it happened to be able to even defend this later on. You're being too vague. That's essentially what Diddy's team is arguing. And to your point, you're right. This is civil rather than criminal. An important thing to remember is that the plaintiff has a lower burden. If Diddy ends up getting criminally charged under a RICO statute, I mean, that burden is beyond a reasonable doubt. The civil burden is just a preponderance of evidence. So you can have a situation kind of like you did with O.J. Simpson, where Diddy is acquitted on the criminal and still found liable here under the civil, because it's much easier for a jury to find somebody guilty in a civil lawsuit. So the fact that he has what will probably be a parallel track, if indeed he gets indicted like we think he will, he'll have the criminal and the civil, and they will reinforce each other. That's the interesting thing too. The fact that these are happening at the same time, you usually have a civil lawsuit come after a conviction, because in some ways it's easier. The civil plaintiff can just use the facts that came out at trial in their complaint. The fact that these are happening at tandem will be interesting because they might come out with some facts in the civil discovery that the criminal, prosecutors will use at trial, and vice versa. It makes it doubly more difficult for Diddy to fight both of them at the same time.
The next point Diddy's team focuses on is sexual assault.
Revolutionary salute to our new member, Eve to Eve. I appreciate you getting your membership, Queen. That's donating to the war chest. Revolution is a way of life. Appreciate the love. Salute.
Writing that the second amended complaint filed by Lil Rod fails to allege any facts from which a plausible inference could be drawn that threats of force, fraud, or coercion were used to compel Jones to commit a commercial sex act, or that Jones is a victim under the statute. Basically, they're saying there's no way Lil Rod can prove that Diddy coerced him into allowing this alleged sexual assault to happen. A major allegation that we see not just in this lawsuit, but in all 9 that Diddy was up against is sexual assault. These allegations are over and over again is what we're hearing. And in this case, that's what Lil Rod alleges. So Diddy's team is kind of pushing back and saying that there's no proof that Diddy coerced Lil Rod. This is in when Lil Rod allegedly had sex with a prostitute at the hands of Diddy. Also something we saw in Cassie's lawsuit. She alleged that Diddy coerced her into having sex with a prostitute. This part is kind of tricky for me even, because how would you prove coercion? So does Diddy's team have a strong argument there?
They may have a strong argument, but not at this point in the lawsuit, because this point in the lawsuit, Rodney doesn't have to have all of the facts to prove the coercion, because this is just starting. We have something in civil lawsuits called discovery, and that is where the facts come out, and he will be able to subpoena people for depositions. Imagine he's going to want to have witnesses testify. Other people who had maybe similar sexual assaults come and testify. That's where he's going to come up with all the facts. So the court doesn't expect him at this point in the stage to have all the facts to prove his claim. He just has to have enough for it to show that this isn't a frivolous lawsuit. Another big motion that will come out if this does pass the motion of dismiss, which I think it will, is what we call a summary judgment motion. That in a civil lawsuit is a time that could make the case go away. It is the more likely motion to make a case go away, because at that point, both parties are saying, we have all the facts. We've done all the depositions. We know all the facts. And assuming the facts are, to be as they are by law, like, I'm not liable. So at that point, Diddy could say, he has not, all the facts that he's shown here, none of them show coercion. They cannot, even a reasonable juror cannot think that this shows coercion. So by law, judge, we should dismiss it. And at that point, his argument he could win, but we haven't even gotten to the point that Rodney has those facts under his belt. He hasn't even started it. So it's not that argument in this motion, I don't think will be enough to overcome it, but that will certainly be what we'll see again in a motion for summary judgment. And that's going to be the difficulty for Rodney, is during depositions for him to get enough facts to substantiate his claims to overcome what we will eventually see as a summary judgment motion.
The next portion of the motion still touches on the sexual assault allegations, saying, quote, Jones's sexual assault claim against Mr. Combs must be dismissed because Jones fails to plead the most basic facts, such as where and when any purported instance of assault occurred or what allegedly transpired. Now, this is something that Diddy pointed out in this recent motion that was filed, that this alleged sexual assault, Rodney Jones doesn't say when it happened. He doesn't say where it happened. So these are really important facts that we would potentially need. However, sometimes there could have been inebriation involved with sexual assault or something else like mind-altering substances, perhaps. How important is it, if this is carried on down the line, that Rodney Jones can say, this is where, this is when, and this is what happened?
It's important. It's going to be important, especially if it goes in front of a jury. I mean, you're asking a jury to, in this case, find somebody liable for potentially, millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. You have to be able to prove to that jury that you were harmed. That's really what he's arguing here, that he was harmed, and as a result, he is owed money. If you don't prove that harm, a jury isn't going to give you the money. So he is, even if there is a case where maybe he's inebriated, as you said, you still have to have enough corroborating evidence. Maybe you have to show photographs or other witnesses, or like we've seen in other criminal cases, like a pattern, like some sort of pattern, or who gave you the substances? Did Diddy give you the substances? You're going to have to show more, because just like in anything, people don't just take your word for it. This is a serious allegation, and the jury is going to take it seriously, and what's at stake is going to be a serious amount of money. And so he is going to have to show some corroboration. At this point in the motion to dismiss, that is not necessarily required, but it will ultimately, he will have to shore up these allegations with more specificity.
You mentioned pictures, and that completely rung an alarm in my head, because in the original lawsuit, there were a lot of pictures. That's one of the allegations, that Diddy recorded hundreds of hours of footage. So it is possible that Rodney Jones has this in his back pocket. But one of the main pictures that everyone was talking about back when this was filed in February is a photo of Lil Rod, Rodney Jones, and Cuba Gooding Jr. And he alleges that Diddy coerced him to have kind of a sexual relationship with Cuba Gooding Jr., at least for the moment there. He alleges that Cuba Gooding Jr. sexually assaulted him. Now, Diddy's team is saying in this motion, how is Diddy responsible for something someone else did? This I potentially see. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to prove that there was some sort of like conspiracy or connection, just an association, like a friend. If a friend of yours did something bad to somebody, of course, you wouldn't also be liable for it. They're going to have to show some sort of concerted coordination or action between the two of them. One of the things that Diddy also points out in this that I think that Ronnie is going to have to overcome is his own social media posts. I mean, that's the first thing we say as lawyers, like, you should not talk about the case because it will come back and haunt you in some ways. And it is true that anything he has said in social media, Diddy is alleging in this motion to dismiss, he's talking about, you need to pay me, that kind of thing. All of that, can be construed a lot of different ways. And that is going to be the defense. If this ever were to go to trial, that will certainly be the defense. Ronnie's social media posts will certainly be shown. And that is, to the counterpoint, the photos that Diddy has and videos that we may not have uncovered is going to be coming. And there may be like a battle between the social media posts and videos and photos. If I were Diddy, though, I wouldn't let this go to trial. There will be, especially if you have this criminal proceeding going on and you don't want any facts coming out, any witness testimony coming out that may harm you in a criminal conviction. So this might be kind of posturing at this point, hoping that there's a motion to dismiss. But if he ends up getting indicted, I think strategically, he should settle this case.
I do want to talk about this potential criminal case. I have one more question about Lil Rod, though. And this is the emotional distress that he alleges. All of these things he kind of laid out and said, it was distressing to me going through all of this. Diddy's point in the motion is saying, how can you prove emotional distress? Is that something that Lil Rod would have an easy time proving if and when this did go to a jury? Or is it kind of hard to prove emotionally what you're going through?
Okay, great question. Once somebody claims emotional distress, the defendant has a right to have that person evaluated by a mental health profession. That does not happen in a lawsuit unless you claim emotional distress. And then at that point, that expert testifies however they want. You, as a plaintiff, you don't have, let's say, control over that in a way you have as in terms of how you present a case, what witnesses you want to put forward. So it's a little bit of a risky damage out complaint, to be frank, for a plaintiff. Once you put emotional distress, your mental health becomes at issue, and you'll have an expert come in. They will evaluate you. They will testify so it opens up a little bit of a Pandora's box, but that's how that issue gets resolved for the court and for a jury.
Diddy's team also points to Lil Rod's allegation of a breach of contract, saying it's barred by the statute of frauds because any contract that cannot be performed within 1 year is unenforceable unless in writing. So legal speak aside, could Diddy's motion to dismiss really make Lil Rod's lawsuit go away?
I would be really surprised if it were completely thrown out. Could maybe one of the, things that he's suing under be thrown out? Possibly. But motion to dismiss, you very rarely have a complaint thrown out at this early stage. So he does, have good attorneys who are trying the best they can, but it is definitely a long shot for him to have it completely dismissed.
There you have it. This motion probably isn't going to have the lawsuit thrown out. So all that leaves us with is debatably the most important topic involving Diddy. And the question on everyone's mind for months and months now is when and if Diddy's getting arrested. Talking about his criminal case, we can't even really say it's criminal yet because he hasn't been charged or indicted on any of these allegations. We know that there were federal raids, but then it kind of got quiet on that front. So what are your thoughts there? Do you think that he is going to be arrested and indicted?
I mean, we heard some rumors about people who said that they were going to be witnesses at the grand jury. If that's true, and that means that they actually convened a grand jury and they're going through that testimony and that process, that could take a while. This is a multi-state investigation, things that occurred in multi-states. His enterprise is very large. There's many people involved.
Revolutionary salute to our new members in the House of Revolution. Blockbuster salute to the House of becoming a member, brother. Salute to you to becoming a member in the House of Revolution. I appreciate that. That's a donation to the war chest. Revolution is a way of life. Welcome, brother.
Grand juries involving that can take a long time. So I don't think we're at the point where it's been so long that we can say, oh, nothing's going to happen. I think that based on even just, now we've seen the Cassidy video, it gave her, really substantiated her allegations. So based on that and the raid, and the fact that we're hearing that they had some witnesses for the grand jury, I think it's likely that there's going to be an indictment, and it might be soon, or it might still be a month or two away.
So do you think that right now it's possible that they are going through with grand jury proceedings and we just don't know about it?
Yes, I do. I mean, grand jury proceedings are secret. That is the point of it. We don't know about it until after the fact. So I think that is very likely that is what's happening right now.
The Sean Diddy Combs accuser has apparently filed a new police report and may be planning to file another. What the latest developments in this ongoing alleged sexual abuse scandal mean for the embattled rapper and producer. I'm going to sit down with entertainment attorney Michael Stevens to get to the bottom of it. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. All right, so we're back talking about Sean Diddy Combs' legal saga, and we have another interesting update for you. Now, you might remember we talked on a previous Sidebar about how former adult film star Adria English, who filed a 114-page federal lawsuit in the Southern District of New York against Combs and other defendants, sex trafficking, sexual assault. We talked about this. It represents, I think, the 9th lawsuit that has been filed against Combs since November of last year, when Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, filed her sexual abuse lawsuit against him. And that started the whole ball rolling. Multiple lawsuits with similar sexual assault and sex trafficking claims. A reported federal criminal investigation being launched, possibly focused on Combs. The reported impaneling of a grand jury in New York hearing evidence. Although, to be clear, no charges or arrests have been made at the time of this recording, but you can see how so much has happened. By the way, as we talk about Combs, and we have discussed the effect these allegations and legal developments have had on his business empire and finances, it did get me thinking, how many of you are business owners out there, or maybe are trying to start a business? I ask that because we have this amazing sponsor known as Odoo that I want to mention to you. So Odoo is a free all-in-one business management software that provides you with a range of applications that can help. Link odoo.com/LC sidebar. Hope you can check it out. But back to English, because that's what we're going to be talking about right now, this new development. She claims in her lawsuit that she was used as a sexual pawn for the pleasure and financial benefit of others. This was during Combs' infamous white parties. This is when, by the way, everyone dressed up in white attire, really, really big events. And she claims that Combs forced her into prostitution for years, between 2006 and 2009, accusing Combs of forcing her to take drugs before she was passed off to others. Claims Combs demanded that she have sex with people, for instance, with celebrity jeweler Jacob the Jeweler Arabo, who is a listed defendant in this lawsuit. She claims that Combs threatened to blackball her and her boyfriend from the entertainment industry if she didn't do what he wanted. Now, Combs' attorney, Jonathan Davis, released a statement when this lawsuit was filed, saying, quote, no matter how many lawsuits are filed, it won't change the fact that Mr. Combs has never sexually assaulted or sex trafficked anyone.
Yes,
we live in a world where anyone can file a lawsuit for any reason without proof. Fortunately, a fair and impartial judicial process exists to find the truth, and Mr. Combs is confident he will prevail against these and other baseless claims in court. And remember, as we talked about on our prior sidebar, she is suing under various causes of action, various claims, such as violation of the federal racketeering statute, sexual assault, sexual harassment, violation of the New York City Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act, violation of Trafficking and Victims Protection Act, aiding and abetting a sex trafficking enterprise, negligent and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Well, now let's get to this latest development. And it is being reported that English has officially filed a police report. Yes, according to TMZ, she reportedly met with Miami Beach PD and relayed similar allegations that she was making from the early 2000s. And this is the first time that she filed a police report with respect to this. Now, it's being reported also that detectives concluded there wasn't enough evidence to investigate sex trafficking or other crimes. And to be clear about that, we are not sure if there was a statute of limitations issue, like these claims are too old that they're time barred, or whether she wasn't credible, or her allegations couldn't be verified or backed up, or maybe her claims don't even rise to the level of a crime. And while, again, the reporting indicates that she discussed her claims from back in the day, did something more recent happen that she wanted to file a criminal complaint about? We don't know. But here is what we do know, or at least here is what is being reported. While police aren't going to move forward with this investigation, they did apparently file this report, and they did reportedly share it with federal authorities. That could be significant. Is English a cooperating witness in the federal probe? You know, before this news came out about this police report, my colleague, Anjanette Levy, who hosts Crime Fix on Law and Crime, she interviewed English's attorney. Listen to some of what she had to say then.
So in the lawsuit, we pretty much spell out the details of the sex trafficking my client faced at the hands of Mr. Combs at his white parties. So she was essentially sought after due to her relationship with her boyfriend, who was interviewing, or I should say auditioning with Mr. Combs for his Sean John campaign. That's essentially how things came about. And initially, she was just approached to be a go-go dancer. It was all very above board initially, and then eventually, with more time, it turned into being sex trafficked. Yeah. She was sex trafficked in New York in the Hamptons, and then in Miami. And these were all during Mr. Combs's white parties that he was throwing. So we essentially outlined the details of that sex trafficking in her lawsuit. And the reason she came forward now, as you know, a lot of people used to be terrified of Mr. Combs. He's blackballed several people, including my client and her then boyfriend, Mr. Gallo, from the industry. So as we all know, there's strength with numbers. So once Miss Ventura came forward, my client had been looking for an attorney for some time prior to finding me to also file a lawsuit because she had been a victim as well.
Has your client testified in front of the grand jury?
She has not. To my understanding, what they already had what they needed, and if they needed her, we would be contacted in the future. But as of this time, we were just, as you know, and as you just eloquently put it, we are case number 11 in the long line of lawsuits and kind of came in at the very end. So we are expecting justice from the grand jury, just like all the other victims.
Now, of course, circumstances have changed. We have the filing of this police report.
Everybody ain't lying on
And
me.
we also have an updated statement.
Daddy used to tell me that when I was young. I come home from school. He said, boy, all of those teachers is not lying on you, man. Yes, they is. No, they not. And they
From
would.
English's attorney, which we're going to get into. But with that, I got the chance to sit down with entertainment attorney Michael Stevens to talk more about this. Here's his take. We haven't talked about the Diddy saga since it began in November of 2023. So before we even get into this latest development with Adria English, what's your overall take on it? I asked that question for everybody who I bring on to talk about this. Just what's your overall take on the whole Diddy saga for the past,
This is great.
in a few
It's
months?
all coming out. This gonna put an end to that sleaze bag life and shit all these niggas been doing. So all these hip hop clowns change their motive of operating. You can't like Drake used to rap. You can't fly women in town for sex, pay for their flight. If you give them any money for sex, that's the Mann Act. You just trafficked them. And it don't matter. Now, you say, oh, the groupies, they just gonna come after my money. You trafficked them. You rapped about it. You bragged about it. You cannot fly females out, NBA players, NFL players, Major League Baseball players, big time drug dealers. You can't fly women out and pay them to leave. That is called trafficking.
A few months, it'll be a full year.
Yeah, my overall take on the Diddy saga is Diddy's in some hot water. It looks like just the longer it goes on, the worse it's getting for him. Adria English is just another in what I assume will be even more people coming for. He's got over a dozen lawsuits already active against him, and multiple people coming out with some pretty.
They don't understand. These black rich people, you set up. Come on, man. You don't know. I'm in gas right now. You don't know about Jack Johnson. You can't fly a woman out and then tell her, oh, you gonna make some money while you here. And what Diddy was doing, I'm gonna turn you on to a few of these people. That's the Mann Act. You can't have them sell cat to make money and then they fly home. That's trafficking. These dudes are stupid.
Serious allegations. So it's not looking good for Diddy right now.
And by the way, before we get into her allegations, and not really just this latest development with it. If you were advising him, right, I can imagine representing a celebrity is not easy. And I think the blowback for him, aside from that, he hasn't been found liable in a court of law. He hasn't been arrested. He hasn't been criminally charged at the time of this recording. But the financial blowback, the reputational blowback, that everything has come out. And he has remained relatively quiet. It looks like he has been living his life, aside from him apologizing for the infamous Cassie video that came out several months ago. What would you advise him to be doing right now?
I would probably advise him to keep doing what he's doing, which is keeping his head down. I think strategically settling some of these cases has been a good move. Like you said it, he hasn't been found guilty. Settling is a good way to avoid that. All of the evidence and pieces of media that we've seen suggests that there's a lot of video that he probably doesn't want to come to light, and it probably won't bode well for him.
Settling is what Epstein was doing. Then they come back and get you. Settling is a mission of guilt. But see, the reason they settle is to buy time. Just to give me some, just to buy some time. Okay, we settle. All them lawyers know they're going to double back and get your ass when you settle for this type of nonsense. Are you kidding? This ain't no hit and run. Try to settle these cases if you want to. Your ass is grass.
And I would say strategically settling these cases, assuming he can afford it,
Oh, look at this.
which
This a lawyer talking.
based on
Yeah,
age,
it's a lawyer talking. Yeah, you just want to scam him out some more money. He don't need no more lawyers, man. He
Adria
ain't gonna
English's
listen to you.
$50 billion civil lawsuit, I think he'll be all right.
Here's the thing with that, though, right? So he settled that first lawsuit with Cassandra Ventura back in November,
Right.
24 hours. And then it was a domino effect. It was lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. And some could say, well,
gambling,
you know, one person comes out, then another person's going to come out, and another person, everybody's going to have accusations. And when they see that he settled, well, if he settled with one, maybe he'll settle with me. But the other way of looking at it, of course, is if one person finds
one of the ones that's damaging is the 17-year-old that he flew out, and that's what's crazy. She kept pictures, she kept everything. He's a celebrity. She not throwing none of that shit away. It's like Monica Lewinsky. She keeping the dress, nigga. Your ass going down. That young girl had her pictures of way back in '99 when she flew out to sit on Diddy lap in the studio. Nope, she didn't get rid of it. Nope, she didn't throw it away. That's called evidence, nigga.
the strength to come forward. And yes, these are allegations. But if one person comes forward and another person finds the strength, and so they might all be victims. And just because they didn't come forward years ago doesn't take away from the legitimacy of their claims. But again, when you're talking about Adria English, which I think is the 9th lawsuit, what's your take on that?
Yeah. I obviously, I did not mean that he should settle every case that comes his way. I was drawing on my own personal perception and what I've seen, and that it looks like there is a lot of very incriminating evidence that may come to light as these cases go on. That being said, yes, it does draw people out of the woodwork, many of which are likely victims. I think if you're P. Diddy's attorney, you're going to have to sort through these, and any ones that are obviously, people just trying to get a quick payday, push back on those. But if I'm P. Diddy's team, I'm not letting these go far down the road on trial.
So now I want to talk about this latest development. So Adria English goes to the police all these years after. My first thought was, isn't it too late? I mean, she's talking, I would imagine, unless something happened recently, if she's talking about what happened to her in the early 2000s, why go to the police now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is not uncommon in sexual violence cases, gender violence cases. We've seen it over and over in the last several years, actually. When new facts come out, or when a lot of times victims feel encouraged, seeing other victims come out against, the person that hurt them. And in terms of the statute of limitations, there is often, a ticking clock. But when it comes to this, there are certain provisions that have been put in place, such as the New York Gender Violence Protection Act, that does lift that statute of limitations for a look back at cases like this until March 2025.
They opened up the New York case to get Trump, and they bringing hell down on other people.
So legally, she's all right. And, in terms of like how she feels about it, we've seen this before, and it makes a lot of sense. It's a complicated situation.
That be that's more for civil claims, right? If she wants to sue him, if she's going to the police for, for pressing criminal charges, right? And again, I could be wrong here, but when I looked up California law, I was seeing, let's say you're talking about sex trafficking, right? And if there's an offense that's punishable by life imprisonment, I don't think there's a statute of limitations. But if you have an offense where you can be imprisoned for 8 years or more, then you have to file a report you have to commence the action within 6 years. And then if there's one where the offense is punishable for less than 8 years, it has to be commenced within 3 years. So I mean, again, I could be getting the dates wrong, but even so, if you're talking about something from the early 2000s, my first impression would be it's too old. One of the reasons that Los Angeles police couldn't move forward, or LA prosecutors couldn't move forward with charges against Diddy for the 2016 tape that came out of him allegedly beating Cassandra Ventura, is because it was time barred. It was too old. So again, what would be the motivation for her to go to the police to file a report? Is it just to, give her report, give the details, have it memorialized? Is there another thing that I might be missing here?
Yeah, it's strategic, and there's a few factors that could be driving her decision to do that. Obviously, it supports any civil lawsuit that she may have going, but also it helps the police collect further evidence. You know, she's not the only one supplying evidence of past crimes or perceived crimes, and the police want to gather as much intel as they can. There's various cases, various criminal cases, various lawsuits, and it can build, it can support patterns of behavior and also support other cases that may be ongoing. And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the police said there's not enough evidence here to move forward with sex trafficking or any other kind of charges. I don't know if that's because of the time issue or
not the feds.
There's not enough there. They might say there's not enough evidence of probable cause.
Yeah, it's a tough one to pursue. You know, there is the time element, but also it's a tough burden to clear to prove that. And so when the police says that there's not enough evidence to pursue it, it's still valuable to collect that information. It's still valuable to collect, you know, Mrs. English's experiences and any evidence that may support future cases or current cases. And as well, you know, there's also the federal case that's ongoing against Diddy, and this information can
potentially against Diddy. We don't know for sure if they. I mean, it looks like the tea leaves would say that they're investigating him, and potentially charges could be afoot. Grand jury. I will say the fact that the police did file the report and they may be sharing it with the feds. That's significant, right?
It feels pretty significant to me, Jesse. Yeah.
Do you think she's working?
Yeah, I mean,
you think she's working with the feds on that? Again, what could be a purported sex trafficking investigation out in New York? You think she's working with them?
Yeah, I mean, my opinion, yes, I do think she is. I think she is, and I think that you know, what we do know about how the feds work is they work much more silently. They work and they gather and they build a case, and then you hear about it. By the time we hear about that case, it's gonna, you know, in my opinion, it'll be too late for Diddy. So I do think she's working with them, and I think that, you know, filing this criminal case with the Miami PD, even knowing it might not go anywhere, there's a bigger play happening here.
But there is a question if the police didn't follow through in this investigation, putting aside the issue of it being time barred. If they didn't find her credible, that could be a problem too, right? Because the feds, if they're building a case, they want to make sure every one of these alleged victims is credible. Because if you have one loose chain, everything could fall apart. So the fact that when you have this statement from Florida police saying, we're not going to investigate this further, there doesn't seem to be evidence of crime, that do you think that's problematic for Miss English? Do you think that's problematic for her civil lawsuit?
No, just those are, you know, two different things. You know, the burden of proof or the required evidence to pursue the criminal case has no bearing on her credibility. It doesn't make, just because the facts aren't enough for a case, it doesn't mean the facts aren't true. You know, it has little to no bearing on her credibility unless we receive more information that the facts supplied are inaccurate. But so far, we're not seeing anything like that.
Let me ask you about this. So Adria's attorney, Ariel Mitchell, told Us Weekly, quote, Miss English is very excited and cautiously optimistic about her journey to justice, starting with the filing of her civil lawsuit on July 3rd, 2024, and now with the filing of a criminal complaint with the Miami Beach Police Department. Miss English hopes to file an additional criminal complaint in New York, but has been precluded to this point as New York requires an individual to be in person in order to file a criminal complaint. We look forward to hopefully being able to pursue justice as quickly as possible with the support of others who are interested in standing with her against the injustice she and others have faced at the hands of Mr. Combs. What do you make of that statement?
It looks like she's, it appears that Mrs. English is very committed to pursuing justice against Mr. Combs. I think based on that statement, if you read between the lines a little, it seems they're aware that it's complex, it's difficult, there's a long road ahead for her particular case, but they also mentioned the other victims, and you know, I think that they are aware that this is another very powerful addition to the mounting cases against Diddy. And those are all, each one is meaningful.
I just thought it was interesting the fact that she can't file the report unless she's in New York. So why not just go to New York? I don't know why you have to say you're precluded unless I'm missing something. Am I missing something?
Yeah. To me, I just read that as almost like she hasn't gone yet, but she will. I'm wondering what could be more important than this for her. But it sounds like she's planning on going to New York to do it.
Interesting development. All right, I'll ask you now the big question, the question I have been asking everybody since Mr. Combs' homes were raided months ago. Do you believe by the end of the summer, within the next few months, we are going to see an arrest of Diddy, criminal charges filed against him or not? I know the feds work very methodically. They are not going to pursue a case unless they believe they are going to win. They make a statement with this kind of raid, but it takes a while to build up a case like this. And particularly if you're talking about a lot of allegations, a lot of different players. But I ask you, in your best opinion, we don't know, do you think he's going to be facing charges?
I absolutely predict that he'll be facing charges. I believe there'll be an arrest before the end of summer, I think was your question. I think that's a little soon. Yeah, but it's coming. I mean, we've seen it in the past. We've seen it, we saw it with Weinstein. We've seen it, and this is appears to be turning into a very strong cases against him.
I only said by the end of the summer because some of my guests, but then again, I spoke to them several months ago. They said by the end of the summer. It's almost near the end of the summer, but we'll see. I don't know. Really interesting.
Now let's talk some hip hop shit, man. I want to talk to Puff right now.
Yes.
Now it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah. Check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there with all due respect.
Maybe I said it to my brother because he got Tupac killed.
We gonna kill all you motherfuckers. Now when I came, fuck Biggie, fuck Bad Boy as a staff, record label, and as a motherfucking crew. If you wanna be down with Bad Boy, then fuck. Come on, you bring it. All you motherfuckers.
Do you think that people really know you?
No, people don't really know me, and that's by design.
Who is this person, the Sean Combs, that we don't know?
We have yet to find out. You have to come along for the ride. You got to see this movie all the way through, baby. Believe me, I got an action-packed ending for you.
For me, I drop $1 million on your head. Race you and your whole family.
What up, guys? It's your boy Quake. If you want to see this Diddy $1 million hit documentary uncut and ad-free, it is available on my Patreon at patreon.com/diverse mentality. The link is in the description below. All my documentaries are available on there, uncut and ad-free. Also, leave a like on this video as it helps us out a lot. Thank you. The story of Tupac's death has been one of many conspiracy theories. And this story I'm about to deep dive into is one of the most major ones that has been brought back to light after Keefe D got arrested for the murder of Tupac back on September 7th, 1996. Rewinding back to that night, there are many different sides of the story and many different theories. The questions this documentary is going to try to answer is why did Tupac get killed that night and who put the battery in Keefe D's back to do it? Enter Sean Puff Daddy Combs, or better known in today's world as Diddy. Diddy in 1993 formed the label Bad Boy Records, with one of the first signees being Notorious B.I.G., aka Biggie. Tupac at this time in 1993 had released his second studio album under the TNT Interscope Records label. He had begun to slowly become a household name. Tupac and Biggie in 1993 eventually became friends, frequently being seen together on stage and at events, even freestyling together. However, things changed quickly in 1994. On November 30th, 1994, Tupac was shot 5 times while coming to Quad Studios in NYC for a recording session. There is much speculation on what happened that night, and rumors of being set up by people started. None of the rumors matter because in Tupac's eyes, it was Biggie that set him up. That in turn forever changed the relationship between Biggie and Tupac, thus causing the war between East Coast and West Coast to begin. After the shooting, Tupac was facing prison time for a sexual assault case and had to turn himself in, which he did on December 23rd, 1994. While Tupac was locked up, he said he kept hearing in interviews that Biggie was wishing him well, but he felt that if he really wished him well, he would visit him. He felt Biggie was lying to the public about wanting to see him free. And Tupac felt like this about a lot of East Coast artists that said in interviews they wanted him free, but never took the time to visit him while he was in prison. Then in January of 1995, there were rumblings about a song Biggie had recorded called Who Shot Ya? The song was making its way towards mixtape DJs and was eventually released. Diddy maintains that the song was recorded before Biggie's debut album Ready to Die, which was released on September 13th, 1994. That would mean it was before Tupac's shooting incident at Quad Studios. The song was meant to be on Biggie's album, but ultimately was removed because of Diddy. Despite Diddy removing the song, many speculate that Diddy wanted the song to get released after Tupac got shot to taunt him and potentially fuel the battle between Tupac and Biggie. There is much speculation on if the song was a diss towards Tupac, but in Tupac's eyes, it was a diss and a taunt towards him because he was locked up and didn't have the freedom to respond. Pac felt like he was getting antagonized, and the timing of the release never sat well with Tupac. Tupac and Biggie already had their own issues because of that shooting, but now the CEOs of each one's labels would end up having issues as well. Suge Knight and Diddy had issues prior to all of this, and the story behind the issues between Suge and Diddy go back to when Diddy's friend Wolf killed Big Jake in a Atlanta nightclub. Mob James and Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Deal have refuted those stories and have said that Suge and Diddy's issues stem from something way earlier. This video is brought to you by Manscaped.com, the global men's lifestyle brand that is revolutionizing the landscape of men's grooming. When you've got the confidence of over 10 million men, and Suge Knight calls out Diddy and Bad Boy.
Like to tell Tupac, keep his guards up. We ride with him. And one other thing I'd like to say, any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
Diddy speaks on the incident during his Drink Champs interview in 2016. He said after the award show, they all attended an after party in the tunnel, and this is where he approached Suge about what he said that night. Diddy claims when he asked Suge, he said he was talking about Jermaine Dupri.
Now, Diddy, that famous Source Award speech where Suge got up there and he said, dancing all in the videos and all that. Did you thought that was you immediately, or it had to hit you later?
I really couldn't believe it because homeboy, me and him were friends. You know, I really had thought we were cool. You know what I'm saying? Right. Cool acquaintances. You know what I'm saying? Just being respectful from people coming into other cities and stuff. Right. And so when he had said, I was like, whoa, I definitely feel where that's coming from. I know that I'm not, what? Yeah. Are they crazy? I was like, wow. And I was like, I could blow this thing up right now,
Very true.
So to make a long story short, this is where the after party's at, of course, at the world famous tunnel. Right. And so then when I ran up and I asked him, and he said, "Nah, I was talking about Jermaine Dupri."
Jermaine Dupri then appeared on Drink Champs in 2017 and denied that Suge was talking about him because they were really good friends at that time.
Yeah, when he said at the Source Awards,
he was talking about me.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, I guess we got an
Which
answer.
side do you think is a little?
Come on, man. Y'all know better than that. That's not. I mean, we was there. I was there. Me having beef with Death Row never was like that. Wasn't even. Suge was in my office.
Right.
Coming to Atlanta, kicking it, like hanging out at my office.
And to this day, there is still confusion as to why Suge Knight said that during the Source Awards. Some people speculate it was because Suge Knight was envious of Diddy and Bad Boy Records because they were winning all the awards. So in order to regain some control that night, he disrespected Diddy. Then on August 13th, 1995, Biggie and Diddy have their performance at 92.3 The Beat Summer Jam show in Irvine, California. This is where Keefe D says he watched Biggie and Diddy perform, and Suge Knight was there watching them. Keefe says he noticed Suge was getting jealous of them.
They had a Summer Jam, and it was at Irvine Meadows. We went up there where they had a little revolving stage. So we was up there. We had on our little cowboy shit, jamming with him. So the stage went around. He did his little 3 songs. We went around. Suge was waiting over there on the side over there. You know what I'm saying? So he like, Keefe D, how you know them motherfuckers? Same way I know you, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, he had I seen him getting jealous of them dudes then. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
The jealousy theory makes sense to a certain extent because the shooting of Suge Knight's friend Big Jake happened 1 month after the Source Awards. So what was the real reason Suge Knight called out Diddy? It wasn't because of the shooting, because it didn't happen yet. Following that Summer Jam event, roughly a month later on September 23rd, 1995, Jermaine Dupri throws a birthday party in Atlanta and invites all of his celebrity friends. Both Suge Knight and Diddy were invited. At the Jermaine Dupri party, it was relatively civil. However, at the after party is where things took a turn for the worst and forever changed the course of Tupac and Biggie's fate. Suge Knight arrived at the Platinum House nightclub with only one person, his friend Big Jake. Big Jake is an OG Blood who recently got released from prison, but then got hired by Suge Knight and Death Row to be a promoter. According to Goody Mob's Big Gip, who was there that night, Suge Knight was acting very aggressive towards lots of people and even smacking a few individuals. The story of what happened that night gets intertwined with lots of different points of view. The parts that are consistent with everyone that was there is that Suge Knight and Diddy got into an argument. Diddy at this time was surrounded by a lot of street guys, namely Crips. One of the main leaders was Anthony Wolf Jones, who was known to be Diddy's right-hand man and was willing to go to any lengths to protect Diddy. Because of that, things got out of hand quickly when the two camps argued. An off-duty Fulton County deputy sheriff by the name of Chris Howard, who was working security that night, revealed details of what happened. And in an interview with New York Times, the article said this: the killing was witnessed by Chris Howard, an off-duty Fulton County deputy sheriff who was working security at the Platinum. In his statement to police that night, Howard said the shooting stemmed from an argument during the party involving individuals associated with Death Row and Bad Boy, including Suge Knight and Sean Combs. At one point, the verbal dispute apparently got so heated that Howard had to step in and break it up. Following a second flare-up involving Robbles and Jones, Robbles is Big Jake, Suge Knight's homie, and Jones is Anthony Wolf Jones, Diddy's security. Howard said he told Combs and Knight and their associates to leave the club. To avoid a clash, Howard said he asked Suge Knight to wait inside the club while he escorted Sean Combs and his crew out of the building. Checking the entrance to the club to make sure that Combs and his associates had left, Howard then turned to Suge Knight and Big Jake and said, "I told Suge, okay, coast is clear." And we walked outside and he got into the limo. Howard told the Times in an interview his partner was just about ready to get into the limo when all of a sudden Diddy's guys came from around the corner and one of them had a gun. "I chased the guy with the gun around the corner," Howard said. "He handed the gun off to another guy. It was a .45, and by the time I back out front, that's when the guy took a shot at Suge's partner. He shot him 2 or 3 times. Howard said he had drawn his weapon but couldn't fire because a crowd had gathered outside the club. He said he saw the shooter jump into a car carrying Diddy's associates. I couldn't see who was driving, but all the guys who were with Puffy ran to the car when the shooting took place, Howard said. Then the shooter jumped in and they drove off. Howard then telephoned police for help, but by the time officers arrived 15 minutes later, the killer had escaped and the shooter's weapon was never recovered. Robles, aka Big Jake, died a few weeks after the shooting in an Atlanta hospital. There was a lot of speculation that night of who actually shot Big Jake, but according to Jermaine Dupri, he said it was Wolf, and lots of other people believed the same. Diddy that night also reportedly made it clear with Suge that he didn't have control over what happened to his friend and was sorry for the shooting. The murder of Suge Knight's friend is what officially turned a competition in hip-hop into a full-blown beef. With Big Jake being an OG blood that got killed by Diddy's crew of Crips, things escalated quickly into war. Within 1 year, multiple people would end up getting killed, even the superstar of Death Row, Tupac. Fast forward, on October 12th, 1995, Tupac was officially released on bond at the price of $1.4 million, paid for by Suge Knight. In exchange for that release, Tupac officially signed with Suge Knight's Death Row Records. With tensions rising and Tupac officially out, this is where Keefe D comes into the picture. He was a part of the Southside Crips who moved a lot of drugs in the 80s and 90s. Keefe D had made a connection with a guy named Eric Von Zip, who was a big drug dealer in New York. Zip had traveled to the West Coast often to have fun and had met Keefe D at a baseball game in 1990. Through that, they built a drug trafficking relationship. Keefe D would send Zip drugs to move out in New York. Eric Von Zip already had a relationship with Diddy, so it was only a matter of time with all the stuff happening with Suge Knight and Tupac that he would introduce Diddy to Keefe D. Keefe details the first time he met Diddy through Zip in his book, Compton Street Legend. Zip is the one who introduced me to Sean Puffy Combs back in 1991 or 1992. The two were very close friends. I met a few people from New York through Zip. About a year after our initial meeting, Zip came out to the West Coast and invited a few of us to a party they were having for Puffy at the El Rey Theater. At the time, Puffy was the talent director at Uptown Records, working with Jodeci and Mary J. Blige. About 8 or 9 of us took Zip up on his invitation and went to the party at the El Rey Theater with him. Zip was on the guest list, so he led us into the VIP section. That night, we met Jalil Green Eyes from Houdini and Busta Rhymes. Zip brought us over to where Puffy was and made the introduction. These are my folks. We shook hands, and that was it. I could tell the guy Puffy had a little swag, but he was like a young kid to me. Back then, Puffy was broke, relatively speaking, because his music industry career was just getting started. I was the one with the bigger paper back then. From there, Keefe D and Diddy started running into each other a lot more often, and they started becoming closer, so much so that Keefe lent Diddy his 64 Chevy in 1994 when Diddy was getting ready to shoot a music video for Usher's Can You Get With It. As Keefe and Diddy's relationship got stronger over the years and tensions were rising with Suge, Diddy finally felt comfortable enough to ask Keefe D for security. Fast forward, on October 15th, 1995, Diddy, for the first time since the murder of Suge Knight's friend in Atlanta, arrived in Los Angeles. According to Keefe D, he had called him and asked if it was okay to perform out there. He was scared of retaliation from Suge Knight and the Bloods. Keefe D says he was so worried that he even hired former Navy SEALs to protect him while he was out there.
After that Big Jake stuff, I guess he knew that Zip knew me, and he called and he said, "How you feel about me going to concerts out there?" I'm like, "What's gonna happen?" He like, "Man, I'm scared of the big boy." I mean, you know, he didn't say it in that type of words, but he like the big CEO guy. You know what I'm saying? The first time we went to the concert, it was in San Diego, and this had Navy SEALs in the next room. It looked like the FBI with earpieces and everything. Like, damn. And that tripped me out. Like, man, what the hell you doing? He like, man, I'm just got to be safe. Like, boy, yeah, he was scared of Suge. Yeah, kind of scared. After that, I guess that shit in Atlanta.
Diddy would often travel with Zip when he would be out in Los Angeles. Sometimes, if Zip couldn't be there, Keefe D would be around to make sure things went smooth when he was in LA. Tupac, after being released from prison, immediately hit the studio to record his upcoming album, All Eyes on Me. And on October 31st, 1995, Tupac recorded what would be the original version of Hit 'Em Up, dissing Diddy, Biggie, and Bad Boy Records, but never officially released it at that time. Faith Evans, who was a singer signed to Diddy's Bad Boy label, reportedly went to the studio to record music with Tupac, not knowing he had signed with Death Row Records. Once she found out he was signed to Death Row, she said things were uncomfortable for her. There were reports that she had heard the original version of Tupac's Hit 'Em Up track and stole the beat from him, and then eventually told Biggie and Diddy about the track. A few months later, on February 3rd, 1996, Biggie and Junior Mafia released a song called Get Money with the same production Tupac had on the original Hit 'Em Up. This infuriated Tupac, as he felt Bad Boy did him dirty once again. This prompted Tupac to scrap the original version of Hit 'Em Up and eventually re-record a new one. According to Keefe D, he met with Diddy multiple times when Diddy and Biggie were touring in California, specifically in 4 locations. BET had a special concert tour they set up for Bad Boy Records and a few special guests. They started the tour in early October of 1995 and finished in late November of 1995. The tour was called BET Presents the Fattest Hip Hop Tour in 95, and they made concert t-shirts. On this t-shirt were all the locations that Biggie and Diddy performed at. Based on Keefe D's statement to police officer Greg Kading, at all these locations in San Jose, Sacramento, Anaheim, and Las Vegas, they were there to protect Diddy. However, on one specific location is when talks of the $1 million bounty started. And that was on November 11th, 1995, where Biggie and Diddy performed at Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California. After their performance, they went to a party with Diddy at a hotel suite, and this was the first time Diddy had mentioned that he wanted to take care of Suge Knight. This was in front of Keefe D, Zip, and the Southside Crips.
It was a BET tour. BET tour.
Where was it at?
We went to one in San Diego, went to one in Anaheim, Irvine, then in Vegas. Irvine was a summer jam.
On all 4 of those occasions, there's San Diego, Anaheim, Irvine, and Vegas. Which ones do you actually talk to Puffy at?
Every one of them.
Every one of them. Which of those 4 is it when you talk to him about murdering Tupac?
It was really about both of them. Either one of them. It was
Tupac and Suge, you mean?
Yeah, Anaheim.
So it's Pharrell, you, Puffy, Zip, and a bunch of Southsiders. And what Puffy makes kind of an announcement?
Yeah, that was stupid as hell too, you know.
What did you actually hear? What was the words? The best you can remember what he says.
Shit, he said he'd give us anything for them dudes, you know? Yeah.
He'll give you anything for these guys' head?
Yeah, he said it in front of all the people. I couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying?
In Anaheim?
Yeah. Whole room full of Crips.
So this is after Jake got killed. So he was on point. He was worried about something happening.
Yeah.
Suge had miles off about a bunch of different stuff, so he was scared.
He was scared to death. Yeah.
Okay.
When this conversation first started, Keefe D says it wasn't super serious. Diddy was scared of mainly Suge Knight at this moment and implied that he would need him taken care of, but didn't really double down on what he said in the following days. Then a few months go by and things escalate once again. On December 15th, 1995, a record promoter for Diddy's Bad Boy Records, Mark Bell, gets assaulted at a Death Row Xmas party by Suge Knight. He gets asked, where does Diddy and his family stay when they are out in the West Coast? After this, word got back to Diddy that Suge Knight was looking for him in the West Coast. This prompted Diddy to increase his security with the Southside Crips whenever he went to the West Coast. Nobody knew what would happen if Suge Knight and Pac ran into Biggie and Diddy, but they would soon find out next year. On March 29th, 1996, the annual Soul Train Awards was happening. Both Biggie and Tupac were nominated for awards, so everyone expected the two to be there. Tupac was nominated for Best Rap Album and won with Me Against the World, but he allegedly wasn't allowed to go on stage and accept the award. They said he wasn't there when he was, and the crowd during the TV presentation was even heard booing. After that, Biggie was nominated for Rap Song of the Year and won with One More Chance. Biggie did go on stage and accept the award. After accepting his award, Biggie and Diddy were immediately ready to leave and go on a flight to North Carolina. However, Don Cornelius, the founder of the Soul Train Awards, interrupted Biggie and asked them to stay longer. And while that was happening, Suge Knight and Tupac came through the backstage area, and from there was a face-off. Pac and Suge confronted Biggie and Diddy, and words were exchanged. There were a lot of different reports on what happened, but C. Gutta, who was friends with Biggie, pulled out a gun, and before things really got out of hand, the people of the Nation of Islam intervened in the middle to calm things down. Ultimately, nothing serious happened that night, and both parties left without either of them getting harmed. This confrontation, though, was a clear message that anytime Pac and Suge ran into Biggie and Diddy, there would be issues. After this incident on April 19th, 1996, it enticed Tupac to go back into the studio and re-record a more vicious version of Hit 'Em Up. The production got a remake as well as flipping Biggie and Lil Kim's Get Money track into Take Money. The song also took shots at anyone else that had issues with Death Row Records. Jadakiss details the moment Diddy and Biggie heard Tupac's Hit 'Em Up diss track for the first time, and it was at Total's Kissin' You remix video shoot. That Total song was pushed for radio promotion on April 15th, 1996, and the music video was reportedly shot during Biggie's birthday on May 21st, 1996. So that would mean Biggie listened to the diss track on his birthday. Hit 'Em Up was then officially released on June 4th, 1996, and this song getting released escalated things to a whole different level.
We bust some bad boys for life. Plus, Puffy trying to see me weak. Hearts I rip. Biggie Smalls and Junior Mafia some market. Bad boy murdered on wax and kill. Fuck me and get your cats peeled.
With the release of Hit 'Em Up making waves, according to Keefy D, this worried Diddy even more. Initially, Diddy was worried about Suge Knight, but now he worried about Tupac being a loose cannon like Suge 2. Diddy then responded to Tupac's Hit 'Em Up in the same month of his release by dropping the Volume 4 of his Bad Boy mixtape series. The first track of the tape is titled Stop Yappin', and on this track, Diddy adds commentary to Tupac's Hit 'Em Up track, responding to all of Pac's taunts. Also on track 14 titled Talking Shit, Diddy confirms that he will respond, but he will move in silence.
Come on! You bring it! Oh, you motherfuckers.
Sound upset. You sound so upset.
All of y'all motherfuckers. You
You're really
motherfuckers
scaring
can't
me
be out
right
so
now,
see
right?
us.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up. Give him a round of applause. The Academy Award goes to the actor, Tupac Shakur. Give him a round of applause. Anything else to say? Tupac made a motherfucking record. This is my man. This is me. This is my crew. This is my company. And I loved it. I fucking loved it. Because it let me know the she really was. And all y'all asking me questions about what's going on and how I feel and what I'm going to do. As I said, listen to me. Bad boys move in silence, so I have nothing to say to you.
In the same month of June 1996, Keefy D got a call from Zip saying that Diddy wanted to meet with him. They asked for him to come to Greenblatt's Deli on Sunset. And here's what Keefy D details in his book about that night. One night when Puff and Zip were in town, I got a call from Zip. Yo, Puff said he needs to speak with you. Come to meet us at Greenblatt's Deli on Sunset. A few of my partners and I went down to meet Puff and Zip at Greenblatt's Deli and Fine Wines. The place sat between a strip club and the Laugh Factory on Sunset Boulevard. We went in through the back entrance and started smoking weed on the back patio. That evening, Ron Isley, aka Mr. Biggs, and Angela Winbush pulled up in there driving a triple white Rolls Royce. The rag was white, the seats were white, the interior was cocaine white. That thing was pretty. Miss Winbush had a white fur wrapped around her. They were supremely hard. Zip and Puff were double dating that night. Zip was with one girl and they brought one of the girl's cousins. That was actually from our neighborhood as a tag along for Puffy. The girl from our neighborhood had the reputation of being loose, but Puffy didn't know that. We were all laughing at that fool because he was hugged up and kissing her, but he didn't know the kind of girl she was back in the hood. A group of us went downstairs to place an order. I remember ordering a pastrami sandwich. Then I added, give me a couple of those Tigherini Rosé. Puff waved at me over to step to the side with him. I need to speak with you, big dog. We stepped off to the side where we were able to speak privately. Like a lion on the Senjaretti, I'm able to smell and see fear. Puffy was full of fear. What's up? I asked. I have a couple of problems I need handled. Big CEO and Pac. I looked at him in his eyes, and without hesitation, I responded, that's not a problem. We can make that happen. After our brief convo, we went back upstairs and ate. He ate at the table with the broads, and I was with my folks. I didn't tell my guys what Puffy and I discussed while we were eating. I waited until we were in the car on the way home. That guy Puff wanted us to take care of Big CEO and Tupac. I bet the guy would give us $1 million for these guys' heads.
What happened that made it something other than just him frustrated and boasting? Man, I'll give you guys anything. I mean, what made it a specific, like, hey, I'm serious, I want you guys to kill these guys? I mean,
when he told me the greenback.
How's it go? How's the conversation go? I mean, okay, listen, I'll do it, but I need $500,000, or, you know, I've got somebody who will do it, but I need 300. I mean, we need really specific details regarding that.
Yeah, we were on the million.
You said you walked downstairs. Did he say, come meet me downstairs?
Yeah, he said, come on downstairs and talk to me.
Oh, he tells you, seriously, man, I need to get rid of these guys. And he's looking at you in the eyes and he's like scared.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, the specific reason he asked you to come downstairs and talk to him was about that thing, not about liquor or anything. It was about that. Okay.
You tell him we'll do it for $1 million, and he's like, okay, I'll do it for $1 million. He agrees and shake on it or something like that.
Yeah.
What happened?
He like, man, we'll wipe their ass out quick. You know, it's nothing.
Who brought up the amount of $1 million?
Shit, he did.
Puffy did?
Yeah.
Okay. Wasn't you?
No, it wasn't me. $1 million out there. Yeah, take for 50. You know what I'm saying? Shit.
So he brought up the $1 million.
Yeah. Them project dudes will kill your ass for $1,500. You know what I'm saying? Shit.
And there it is, the final conversation Keefy D had with Diddy about now getting Tupac and Suge Knight killed for a cool $1 million. $500,000 bounty for each of their heads. In July of 1996, there was another confrontation among Diddy and Suge's crews at the Lakewood Mall in California. Mob Piru Blood member Trayvon Lane went to the Lakewood Mall with a death row chain on. These death row chains were handed out by Suge to his close friends. Keefy D says he had a little homie by the name of Victor that was going to college. So he gave him some money and told him to get some clothes at the Lakewood Mall to get fresh for college. Victor arrived at the mall first, initially alone. Keefy D says that's when Mob Piru Blood members associated with Suge started to threaten him. Multiple different stories about this incident were reported, but according to Keefy D, other Southside Crips finally made it at the mall and backed up Victor. They all got into a fight, and the report is that a death row chain got snatched. Some say it got taken off Trayvon Lane's neck. Some say it wasn't snatched, it just fell off due to them fighting. During this fight, Keefy D's nephew Orlando Anderson was there and fought. Trayvon Lane recognized Orlando's face after the fight, and they all kept it moving. On September 7th, 1996, Tupac, along Suge Knight, attended Mike Tyson's fight against Bruce Seldon. Keefy D, his Southside Crip homies, and Eric Von Zip all went together to the Mike Tyson event. The fight ends quickly as Mike Tyson gets a quick knockout. From there, Tupac and Suge Knight are leaving the MGM building, and Suge's homie Trayvon Lane recognizes Orlando Anderson from when they fought in July and tells Tupac, that's one of the guys who jumped me and tried taking my chain. Tupac, alongside Suge Knight, jump Orlando Anderson. They all end up leaving. Orlando suffers some injuries with a dislocated shoulder. Keefy D details in his book what happened after. While we were waiting for the valet to bring out our cars, Zip seized the opportunity and called me over to his Benz. Zip was a big-time New York player, pimp and hustler who used to come out to California to handle his business and kick it with us sometimes. As I walked up to the driver's side window, I noticed that the rapper Foxy Brown was in the car with Zip. So he instructed her to step out the car and motioned for me to jump in. Zip had a hidden compartment that he opened up, reached in, and pulled a black 40 Glock out. He turned to me and said, It's time to get the money. Zip handed me the 17-shot pistol, which I promptly put down the back waist of my pants. I hopped out the car, held the door open for Foxy Brown to get back in, closed the door, and they pulled off. Tupac and Suge Knight were planning on heading to Suge's grand opening of his new club, 662. While on the way there, Keefe D and 3 others in the white Cadillac identified Tupac and Suge Knight in a BMW. They make a U-turn, and the second they pull up next to them, they start shooting. Ultimately, Tupac gets shot multiple times, and Suge gets grazed in the head. Tupac doesn't die on the scene, but immediately gets transferred to the hospital for surgery. The following day, Keefe and his crew head back to Compton. News started spreading quickly about Tupac getting shot. Within a few days, news outlets started slowly reporting on what they believed was a suspect. In the news, they mentioned Keefe D's nephew, Orlando Anderson, as a person of interest. Because of all the rumors and attention, Keefe D's Colombian Connect for Drugs set up a meeting that Sunday afternoon and essentially cut ties with him due to all the heat surrounding Keefe and his crew. After losing their major connect, Keefe D was now concerned his whole empire he built was starting to crumble. Without a major connect, money was slowing down. A few days later, Keefe says he was hanging out with Zip, and Diddy called Zip and asked, "Was that us?" in regards to the Tupac shooting. Keefe at the time didn't say anything. Zip did say that was us, and Diddy allegedly responded in an excited way, then said, "We will talk more later when we meet in person."
Okay, so you get back to LA the next day, Zip calls you, says, meet me at the hot place. Where at?
Melrose is great.
You guys go over there, Zip shows up. You guys, what happens after? What's the conversation with you and Zip?
Talked to him on call, was that us? That us? He told me, yeah, it was us. Faye called him. Ooh. I said, we'll go get our little money. I said, all right, I'm going to go back out there. Ooh.
Okay, so Puff called Zip and said, was that us? Faith called Zip and said, was that us?
What you talking about, too? Yeah.
When you're at the hot wing place talking to Zip,
Puff calls. He calls. Yeah.
On Zip's phone or your phone?
Oh, Zip phone.
And Zip gives you the phone?
Yeah. Someone said, was that us? Zip was like, yeah, that's us. So what's his response? He was happy as hell, shit.
And did you ask him then about his money? About your money, I mean? When you gonna get paid or whatever?
No. I say that on the phone. Zip, go get our cash.
Okay, so you tell Zip we need to get paid. What does Zip say? I'm gonna go back home and have
Yeah, I'll get back with you. Yeah.
A few days later, Tupac officially dies in the hospital on September 13th. This, in Keefe D and Zip's eyes, was the confirmation for payment. Collecting the payment was a whole different story.
You guys never got any money?
Never.
For anything?
Nothing. Not even a pair of Sean John drawers. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. It seemed like Puff do that, though. He, seemed like every time some bad shit go around here, it look like it's some shit on the grass. He don't step around that shit. He get away from that bullshit.
There are two different stories when it comes to the $1 million hit. The first one is that Diddy allegedly ordered the hit of initially Suge Knight only since he was the muscle. But once Tupac released Hit 'Em Up and kept running his mouth, Diddy added him to the hit list. And because it was now 2 of them, Diddy allegedly offered Keefe and Zip $500,000 for each to get killed. The second story is that Diddy allegedly offered $1 million for each of them, meaning the total offer was $2 million if they got Suge and Tupac. We are going to explore both stories. After Tupac got killed and Zip confirmed to Diddy it was them that played a role in killing him, roughly 4 to 6 weeks would pass before Keefe D would meet with Zip and ask about getting paid again. He met with them at a popular club called the Roxbury on Sunset Boulevard and asked about the money, and Zip said he still hasn't gotten the money for the hit.
At some point, you reach out again for Zip, or how do you try to get paid?
I kept calling his ass.
Was he avoiding you?
Yeah. We met him at Roxbury.
You finally got a hold of him. You told him I love you.
He said, I'm back out here. Meet me at Roxbury. At a club on Sunset.
Yeah.
They were shooting pool. And Don Moon Riders ready to beat their ass.
Who's they? Zip as well.
Zip, D-Mac, who was that? Fleetwood.
Now, when you have a meeting, is D-Mac and Fleetwood all of them there with you guys?
No, it was just me and him. I said, what's up with your cat? You know, he ain't gave it to me yet. We need money, motherfucker. They took our guns, all that shit. We need some money.
And you want to make
got millions, more than, you know.
And your business shut down, you weren't doing no business, nothing.
Yo, ran my Colombian out of town, man.
Buckle up, because this is where the story gets really interesting. Gene Deal, who was Diddy's former bodyguard, reveals he saw Eric Von Zip with a check for $1 million. He says it was written to him for his ownership stake in Blackground Records.
After Pac got killed, we heard about, somebody got a check or something like that. Zip came up on my man's spot, and he came up there, and I heard TK Kirkland interview with you. He said he got a check for $5. It wasn't no check for no $500,000. Zip had a check in his right back pocket, and that check was for $1 million. He said he got Jimmy Henchman got him the check from Barry Hankerson or something like that. Barry Hankerson, I think, there was a Leah uncle or manager or something like that, gave him that check for Blackground Records. That's what he said. I didn't know he had a record label. I didn't know he had a record company, Blackground label, but that's what he said he got the check for. You understand? Mm-hmm. I'm not the only one that's seen the check. There's other people that I'm not going to mention their name, but they know.
So what is Blackground Records? It is a record label founded by Aaliyah's uncle, Barry Hankerson. Barry Hankerson was someone close with Diddy in the music industry. Even Jimmy Henchman was a music consultant / A&R over at Blackground Records. Jimmy was the one who admitted to shooting Tupac at the 1994 Quad Studios incident. So you can see how all these things tie together. Blackground Records was founded in 1993. Ironically, in 1996 is when Blackground Records inked a new deal with Atlantic Records, the same year Tupac died. This is important because usually when a company changes ownership or distribution deals, it can cause investors or owners to sell off their portions of the company. And if Gene Deal is telling the truth in seeing Eric Von Zip with $1 million check written from Blackground Records, then the theory would be that Diddy conspired with Barry Hankerson and Jimmy Henchman to give Zip a percentage of Blackground Records that would be worth $1 million to sell off, essentially funneling the money by pretending Zip owned a percentage of the label. And what better time to do it than when the label is changing directions in 1996, the same year Tupac got killed. However, like I mentioned earlier, there were reports that Zip only got $500,000 because he didn't get Suge Knight killed as well. Regardless, Zip ended up getting his money. Keefe D, however, didn't. Keefe D reports he tried collecting the money by contacting Zip and Diddy multiple times, but Zip always said he never received any payment. Eventually, Keefe D got locked up in 1998 and served 4 years in prison up until his release in 2002. Plus, things went bad on Diddy's side with Biggie getting killed in March of 1997. Once Keefe D was released in 2002, he says he tried collecting the money from Diddy still. Keefe D's friends would end up running into Diddy at multiple social gatherings. Win Prince, who was a close friend of Keefe's, ran into Diddy at a Snoop Dogg house party, and Win ended up getting Diddy's number, in which Keefe tried calling, but Diddy never picked up. Keefe D said to his friends if he ever ran into Diddy again, he would rob him of his jewelry until he got paid what he was owed. Keefe D also lost contact with Zip, which means he was fully out of the loop on what happened with the money.
Win seen him a couple of times. Yeah. Oh no, he seen the Warrior. Oh, at one of the Snoop parties out there. And Snoop out.
Oh, in Long Beach.
Where am I?
His house.
Yeah. They all on pictures and everything. He came. I said, man, you didn't call me. No, dog. I got you going out to this. Motherfucker. I said, you get the number. You got the number. We call. Motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Well, I was seeing his ass, man, give me the jewelry and everything, you know? Stupid motherfucker. I said, you let him give you a number? That was so stupid. Why you get the jewelry? Let me all, you know what I'm saying?
Collateral.
Yeah.
You call him a message.
Yeah, he ain't answer. Man got about 50 phones. He can throw that shit away. The phone's easy, man.
Since you've been out of prison, have you talked to Zip?
Not one time.
And then what about Puffy?
Not one time.
Okay.
I tried to call him several times, though. That little daddy out shit.
You got messages?
Hell yeah.
Keefe D wanted the money so bad, he even attended Diddy's Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony on May 2nd, 2008, in hopes of getting in contact with him again, but that failed. Then, in spring of 2008, Keefe D ran into Diddy's close friend and reported bodyguard Darius D-Mac Rogers at a gas station in California. Keefe D pressed D-Mac about the payment, and D-Mac said it was already paid to Zip in the amount of $500,000. This was the first time Keefe heard that Zip had the money. D-Mac even said that Zip and Diddy fell out over Zip not paying Keefe D his portion of the money.
Where did you run into D-Mac at?
I made it off the train at the 76 station.
And D-Mac's,
I like, man, call a boy, call your boy, you know. I like, man, call your boy. He like, man, what's that still, man? What's Zip behind that shit? Zip got that money. I'm like, what? He like, yeah, man, dude gave Zip the money.
Okay, you run into D-Mac in the Valley a couple months, 3 months ago.
Yeah, like all summertime.
Talk about this year?
Yeah. And Zip got paid. They fell out behind that old shit. Plus, Big got killed. And shit, I better not see his ass.
Okay, they fell out. Behind what?
Behind the money. They behind Big got killed 6 months later. I thought y'all had us, dog.
Zip keep the money.
Zip kept the money for us, bro.
And then give it to them, and then Big got killed.
Yeah, all that. I thought y'all y'all had our back. I think if he would have just gave us half the money, you know what I'm saying? I would stay strong like fuck it.
Keefe D, after all these years, finally gets confirmation the money was paid to Zip, but Zip never told Keefe D about the payment. Zip was always known for finessing people out of money. Mike Tyson even said he finessed $600,000 from Don King back in the mid-90s. So this theory that Zip had the money and never paid Keefe D his portion was believable due to Zip's track record of finessing people. Then in late 2008, Keefe D ended up working with the feds to not face prison time for other drug-related charges. He got a proffer agreement where he could tell the truth on everything he's done relating to Tupac and Biggie and not get convicted for it for that day only. On June 17th, 2008, Keefe D worked with the feds to try to get Zip to admit to getting paid for the hit on Tupac, but they had no luck. The question now is, what did Eric Von Zip do with the money that allegedly was paid to him by Diddy? The rumors are he used the money to open up a nightclub in his hometown of Harlem, New York. However, the timelines on this are a little far off, so let me explain. Zip's club in Harlem was called Zip Code, and based off my research and searching up the address, I found that the location of the building was renovated back in 2005. Then I stumbled upon a video posted on YouTube by Now What showing the Zip Code nightclub. This video footage is from the grand opening of the club. While watching the video, I wanted to try and guess when the video footage was taken, so I listened to the music playing in the background. And the newest song I heard in the background from that video was Bobby Valentino's Slow Down, which was released on February 14th, 2005. As I continued watching the video, Stevie Wonder was being interviewed supporting Zip and then talked about his upcoming album, A Time to Love. The release date for this album was September 27th, 2005. Based off this, I knew this footage was shot between the dates of February 14th to September 27th. Then I looked at what type of clothing people were wearing. Everyone was wearing heavy clothing from long sleeve to jackets, which would mean the weather outside at this time was cold in New York. Based off all that, I assume this footage was shot in March or April of 2005. Around those months and year was the grand opening of Zip's club, Zip Code. With all this being said, if Zip got paid in 1996 immediately after Tupac's death, then that means it took him 9 years to use the money to buy the nightclub, which is a long time to sit on some money. Could this be true? Possibly. Maybe he waited until the heat from Tupac and Biggie's death settled down and decided he used the money then. However, Zip was rich before and after Tupac and Biggie's death, so who knows what that money was really used for. Now here's the $1 million question. Can Diddy get potentially charged for murder for hire? Since Keefe D never got a penny of that money, it would be nearly impossible to link Diddy to any of this. There would have to be bank statements taken from the 90s, and background records would have to get investigated, as well as Zip's bank statements too.
If Puff would have gave Von Zip a check for $1 million, that's traceable. The prosecutor, they do a trace on that check and that company. Was that company worth $1 million when he sold it? Why did they give him a check for the company? How long was the company put in existence that he sold, and was it worth $1 million? That's what I would do as an investigator. Puff was friends with Jimmy Hinchman. Did he make any kind of deals with them? Follow the money.
Do you think that Diddy could somehow be dragged into this case criminally? I've always said no.
I agree with you. Yeah, I don't see how it could happen. Not based on the testimony of just Keefe D. When you look at the monumental task of trying to prosecute a music icon, a multi-million, close to $1 billion, you're talking about a defense team that will be very difficult to overcome, that would be representing Huffy. And your only person on the stand is Keefe D, who's
that's your star witness.
That's
basically.
your star witness. Yeah.
Right.
Good luck with that.
The reality is, this is something that happened over 25 years ago. The main person who got the money, Eric Von Zip, died back in September 2012 from cancer. If the feds actually looked into this earlier, back when it was first mentioned, which was in a lawsuit by Kirk Burroughs, who was the former president of Bad Boy Records. In his lawsuit, he was the first person to publicly say Diddy was the one who hired someone to murder Tupac. This lawsuit was public back in October of 2003. This would have been the time to look into this and potentially try to get some more information on what Kirk knew, but no type of law enforcement followed up. Diddy has always denied the allegations, but Keefe D, as well as others, have always been adamant that he ordered the hit on both Suge Knight and Tupac. I can see why people think Diddy is capable of something like this, because even Diddy himself said on Black Rob's Muscle Game track, he'd put $1 million hit on his enemy.
Fuck with me, I drop $1 million on your head. Race you and your whole family.
As of July 30th, 2024, Tupac's family lawyer has vowed to put resources into investigating whether Diddy really had anything to do with Tupac's murder. This is what the article says. Tupac's family is clearly disturbed over an allegation that Diddy may have played a role in the late rapper's murder, something they're now digging into with a new legal team who plan to get to the bottom of it and force action if they find anything there, TMZ has learned. Sources with direct knowledge tell us members of Tupac's still living relatives have retained attorneys Alex Spiro and Christopher Clore, as well as a team of investigators, to look into Keefe D's resurfaced allegation that Diddy offered to pay him and his crew money to take Pac out in the 90s. Diddy was never charged over that claim, and we've even heard cops in Vegas never took Keefe's claim to be legit. However, Tupac's family clearly wants this vetted thoroughly. We're told the family feels there might be something to this claim, and with the legal team they've brought on, they're hoping to dig up any potential evidence that exists to corroborate it, as Spiro and Clore plan to run down any and all leads they find. Our sources say the Diddy allegation will be the main focus of this private investigation, and we're told the team is confident they'll surface potential evidence, including more legal documents. If they do, we're told any material that implicates Diddy in alleged wrongdoing will be passed on to the proper authorities to be looked into for possible criminal charges. And we should say there's no statute of limitations on murder. If nothing comes about on the criminal front, we're told Tupac's family would potentially look into filing a wrongful death suit. Again, assuming they uncover evidence to do so. It's worth noting Diddy has explicitly denied any involvement in Tupac's murder a handful of times over the years, and he's never been arrested as it pertains to this years-old rumor. Nonetheless, Tupac's family wants to clear the air on this once and for all. At the end of the day, there needs to be more evidence in order to get Diddy charged with anything relating to Tupac. Diddy is worth hundreds of millions of dollars and has the best lawyers to defend him. Even though Diddy probably won't ever get charged with putting a hit on Tupac, he is facing various sexual assault lawsuits, and with his house getting raided, I'm sure he'll be facing lots of consequences for his actions. What do you guys think? Did Diddy really play a role?
Hey, what is going on with y'all, man? It is Black Balloon, and I'm coming back with another video, so y'all already know what's going on. All right, y'all. Now, in this video, we got to bring back around the Nipsey Hussle topic, right? Now, over the last couple days, when I took a little break from YouTube, I saw the recent interview that Nipsey Hussle Black Sam brother did, right? Now, in this video, I won't feature anything from that interview, but what the interview made me think of was a clip I heard a while back from Jaguar Wright. Yeah, I know, super controversial, Jaguar Wright. A lot of y'all love her, a lot of y'all don't. Oh well, right? Now, in this clip, she brought up how Lauren London worked for Diddy, and Diddy used Lauren London, aka Nunu, to help set up and sacrifice Nipsey Hussle. Now, I thought it was one of the most interesting things that I've heard come out of the industry, recently when it comes to a really deep rabbit hole, right? Now, for a lot of y'all that never heard that theory or ever heard Jaguar Wright talk about it, this is going to come from left field. But a lot of this stuff started to come out when everything was being exposed with Diddy and all of those cases, because for y'all that don't know, and I've done my digging, so we about to pull up all the receipts on the connection of Nipsey, Diddy, Lauren London, and Cassie. Lauren London and Cassie at one point were like best friends. They may even still be that. It was stated at one point you didn't see Cassie without seeing Lauren London. Maybe some of the women that watch my videos, y'all might know that because, y'all probably paid attention a little bit more than some of the guys, right? So in this video, we're going to use this to go over the connection with Hussle and P. Diddy. There's a couple of things there that I didn't even know about. And like I said, if you haven't heard this or looked over it, it's been talked about on YouTube as well since this Diddy stuff came out. But there's a connection with all four of them. They've all hung out with each other. They've all been around each other. I think Jaguar Wright even mentioned Snoop being involved in the sacrifice. So y'all know we did like 1 or 2 videos on Nipsey, and we put together some stuff that obviously shows this was an industry sacrifice, but we didn't talk about this theory at all because this theory wasn't known until all of this stuff started coming out about Diddy. And so once again, you're going to see the hand that Diddy really has in this industry when it comes to almost every single artist. And this one is pretty deep, especially involving Lauren London. Because as y'all know, she has very deep ties into the music industry all the way back into like 1999, 98. Even when she was with Lil Wayne, y'all know they got a child together. She has deep ties in the industry. A lot deeper than people may seem to know. So y'all already know we had to come and do this video. I'm going to go ahead and stop talking. I think the first clip we'll get into will be with Jaguar Wright. Then we're going to go into the connection with Nipsey, Diddy, Lauren London, and Cassie. So with that being said, y'all, check this out.
Because if you were capable of doing what they're saying that you did to Tupac, why the f wouldn't we believe that you were capable of doing it to Nip because he was about to eclipse you?
Dang.
All of your fucking secret meetings with Diddy, and y'all fucking knew that they put Lauren on him. All those fucking Diddy parties. All of the support that Snoop has for Honeycomb. You've been moving niggas out the way, Snoop, allegedly. But you fucked up when you fucked with Nip. Y'all all fucked up when you fucked with Nip. Moved him out of the way because he was about to give Dr. Sabi to the world all over again, just like Lisa Left Eye Lopez tried to do damn near 30 years ago. Y'all niggas ain't slick. Now you want to sit up there and talk about it wasn't all what it was hitting for, and you want to talk about this. If you married a Crip, you seed up. You don't get to walk away And ain't nothing Honeycomb can do. Isn't it funny how her sister was working for him? Isn't that interesting? I guess that was part of the payment. His sister got to get a job working for the devil. Because I'm accusing you now, Lauren. You work with Diddy to line up your baby daddy, just like Khalees. Work with Nasquiat to line up Nas. Sue me if I'm lying. Khalees can be old news. This isn't about news. This is about motive and opportunity. They stay using desperate starlets to line up the niggas that they want out of the way. Because the easiest way to get rid of a mother is to put somebody in their bed. Look at what they did to Bashir Gray. Charlie Mack found him a wife. See how that turned out. What do y'all need? How much? I mean, is it just? Is it just? You refuse to accept that you were wrong, or is it you just don't want the truth to be right? Which one is it? No, Lauren London isn't an only child. She has a sister, and her sister was working for the Honeycomb. Capricorn.
Wasn't Diddy executive producer of Nipsey's album?
Exactly. And wanted him to stay the fuck away from Dr. Sabi's work. It was a blind corporation that bailed his murderer out of jail.
Now, to say the least, that was a very interesting clip. You know, no matter what y'all think about Jaguar Wright, a lot of people seem to think that Lauren London had a hand in his death. And even when he died and he was sacrificed, people was talking about that, but they just didn't have the connection. Like I said, a lot of this stuff didn't really, come to the internet until Diddy started being hit with all of these lawsuits, so on and so on, especially with Cassie, right? And knowing that Lauren London and Cassie was as close as they were, it raises a lot of questions. Now, I think the most interesting thing about that clip, besides the fact that Jaguar Wright making the connection of Lauren London getting in bed with Nipsey Hussle in order to help Diddy sacrifice him or just to set him up to be an industry sacrifice. The point about Diddy being the executive producer on Nipsey Hussle's last album, Victory Lap. Now, just like we talked about in one of my recent videos, they won't come and get you, and say it to your face like, oh, we're going to get you, we're going to sacrifice you tomorrow. This is a long game kind of thing. And when it comes to someone like Nipsey Hussle, usually a lot of people are involved in order for that play to be put in motion. And in order for it to happen in a way that looks like it's something that, they gave it to us so like, they gave it to us in a way that you would really believe it because you think that's how Nipsey was living. Oh, the guy was a snitch and they got into it and he was like, oh, I'm finna pull up. I'm gonna kill Nipsey because he think I'm a snitch. They gave it to you because you would believe it because Nipsey was a gang member. That's easy for the average mind to believe and just chalk it up to some gang shit, some rap shit, blah, blah, blah. Now it's over with. That's why it was so many holes in the story. Y'all know we did like 2 videos. I can link both of them in this video where I picked apart all the holes and, different inconsistencies about the story. A lot of people said different things on how it happened. Even Black Sam, Nipsey Hussle brother, said something that was basically contradicting what the official story was. But I'm not saying he was lying. I'm saying he was like telling more of what I was trying to prove to people in the video about the initial confrontation that never happened between Nipsey and the guy that, you know, killed him. But I thought it was really interesting, and I didn't know Diddy executive produced Victory Lap, which Diddy also held the album back. I don't know how long. It might have been like for a few weeks or a few months, but I got a little small clip where we'll just go into more connection with Nipsey and Diddy, where Diddy actually talks about Nipsey bringing the album to him. Now, Nipsey brought him a completed album. You know, he didn't bring him like a halfway done album. So it's just, it kind of raises red flags on why he brought him a completed album. Diddy barely changed anything, but he held the album back from being put out because there were like problems going on where the label didn't want to credit Diddy for doing certain things to the album, blah, 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 right? But there lies a connection that a lot of people didn't know about, that Diddy and Nipsey Hussle was a lot closer than we think. And if we know, and if we've learned anything about Diddy so far, we know that he can't be trusted, and every move he makes has a motive behind it. And just so happened, Diddy is behind his last album, Victory Lap, where he sounded like this was gonna be his last album. And sure enough, a year later, the play was put in motion. Nipsey was sacrificed at 33 years old. It's crazy, you know, but we're going to go ahead and get into the next clip and piece together more of these connections between Diddy, Hussle, Lauren London, you know, a little bit of Cassie, and we'll keep digging into this so y'all can see that this might have actually been true about Lauren London helping set up Nipsey Hussle to be sacrificed. With that being said, y'all, check this out.
I co-produced that last record too.
Crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. So you know, I got
Cut another check.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that part.
that part. Business.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, Puff. I brought the album to Puff when it was pretty much done. Just got his feedback, played it top to bottom. Just wanted to see what he thought. He was like, "It's room on these records to continue to produce." He like,
you heard it. That album was already done. It was already complete and finished. Literally, one of the only things that got added to that album was the damn flute on Rap Niggas, excuse me. The flute that was added on Rap Niggas, that was played on the keys, that wasn't even played at Diddy's house. That was keys played by his homeboy.
Yeah, fan of hard work. Yeah, so he's a fan of hard work and also the entrepreneurialism. He was like, "Yo, man, I want you to like you know, mentor me." You know what I'm saying? Like Nip had no ego, so you know what I'm saying? Like Nip came to me and said, "I want you to mentor me. You know, I want to get into real estate. I want you to teach me all your, you know what I mean, like your business secrets." You know what I'm saying? I was like, "Whenever you got questions, pull up." And then on his last album, people do not know this. Somebody tried to jerk me, but I fixed it. I actually am one of the executive producers of Nipsey Hussle's last album.
Victory Lap.
Yeah, Victory Lap. So a lot of people don't know this. We got them to change it in Wikipedia. Somebody over at the label tried to leave my name out, but he came to me and said, "I want you to be a part of helping me finish up this album." And so I was a part of not just the records I was on with him on his last album. He was like, "Yo, I'm a big fan."
All right, y'all. Now, this was one of the only pictures I could find of Nipsey, P. Diddy, and Lauren London in a photo all together. Now, when a lot of people saw this photo, they thought it was very weird that Diddy was in between them, and him and Lauren London were kind of like posing as if this is Diddy's girl, you know, and Nipsey is just on the outside of things. But this is just, you know, this is just a photo. This is just people, you know, us observing how this actually looks to other people, right? A lot of people may not think of it. But I wanted to come in real quick because we have a very interesting clip to listen to with Lauren London when she went on Angie Martinez's podcast and she talked about some very interesting things about death and how she attended a death seminar. And this is a must hear. And before we get into that real quick, you know, Nipsey said, this is where they all connect. Nipsey said it himself on The Breakfast Club. Lauren London put him on to Diddy. So Lauren London officially introduced Nipsey to Diddy at Cassie's birthday party. A lot of people seem to think they was having freak-offs with all three of them, as in Diddy, Lauren London, and Cassie. It makes sense. I'm probably 99% sure Lauren London was getting hit by Diddy the entire time, even while she was with Nipsey. All of this stuff is just very weird now that I'm aware of this stuff. And when you look at it and you see how Nipsey met Diddy, was introduced by Lauren London, she was already doing things with Diddy, with Cassie. Come on now. If Lauren London said Diddy was like a brother to her, and she was best friends with Cassie, and she knew what Cassie was going through with Diddy. So come on, what makes you think both of them wasn't participating in it at the same time? They on that weird industry type of time. So that right there lays the connection between Diddy and Nipsey. Now, when you hear this next clip from Lauren London, it's going to make his sacrifice make even more sense than it does right now. Because it's eerie hearing her talk the way that she does. Now, I may have to put an image over this because I'm not sure if Angie Martinez copyrights. I'm going to try to find out because I kind of want y'all to see her face when she's talking. So I'm going to see if I can post it. I may have to post 2 separate videos and see if a copyright comes to it. But either way it go, y'all, we're going to go ahead and get into this clip. Check this out.
In my previous years, I went to a seminar about death.
Okay, you have to tell. Well, you're
Oh
just
my
telling
God.
me this now.
I know, yeah.
Please share. Please share. Why?
I have a friend.
Why were you there, and what did you learn?
I learned that no one really dies, and that it's just an experience in the physical form, and we're attached to our personalities, but that we're just souls, and that we continue and continue and continue. And if you have a spiritual relationship with someone on Earth, you will have one with them when you leave Earth. So I did this 2-day seminar on death. So,
and this was how long ago?
I had to be 25.
What sent you there? Do you find that weird though?
I'm weird.
No, it's not weird that you would go. It's almost like you were preparing yourself for what you would have to
Well,
deal
I told
with.
you I didn't have such a connection to Earth at a young age.
I know, but you don't find that as you were preparing yourself for what you were going to have to deal with.
Well, that we're all going to have to deal with.
That's true. Point. All right. Very good. That's a solid point, Lauren.
You know what I mean?
Solid
it's not
point.
just me. We
You're
all
right.
have to go through it.
This is the point of this conversation.
Right?
Yes. Sorry. I forgot. Even I forget sometimes. This is going to happen to every single human. Because I wasn't there at Nip's service. I watched that on TV, and you came out with your kids, and I don't know if everybody, when you came out, everybody was like, because everybody had been feeling for you so strongly, and you seemed, I don't know, just so regal and so. Did you feel that way? You look so put together and strong.
I just felt like it was surreal, and I felt like I can honestly say God was carrying me through that. That wasn't me. That was all God. Because there was no way. I didn't even want to get dressed. I was going to wear sweats.
Were you really?
Did somebody? I'm not getting. Yeah.
Did somebody pull you aside?
Somebody pulled me aside. Puff.
Really?
Puff pulled me aside and was like, "Look, bud, you have showed everybody what it looks like to hold a man down and to love him. Now show them what it looks like when it all crumbles. That's your responsibility." I hope he doesn't mind me sharing that. But Puff was my, he's like a real brother.
He's been through a lot of loss too.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, you show up. Because he heard, I don't know who told Puff I was.
Somebody called Puff. Somebody called Puff. Somebody in your family or your team called Puff, like, yo, talk to Lauren.
Because I was like, I'm wearing whatever. I'm not supposed to this now. I was like giving that. And so he was like, no, show up. Show up with your head up.
Now, I know y'all already thinking exactly what I was thinking when I heard that interview. Now, I'm not a Lauren London fan or anything like that. I didn't hear it when it first came out. I heard it doing the research for this video, right? Now, she said she attended a deaf seminar, on how to grieve, on how to do certain things, whatever they may go over at those type of seminars, right? She attended the seminar right around the time that she got with Nipsey Hussle. They've been together for, quite a long time. Maybe even right after she got with Nipsey. That automatically makes you start thinking about, what kind of plan was this the whole time? Angie Martinez, she sat there and asked her, why did you go to that? Doesn't that feel weird? You were preparing yourself for what you was actually going to have to go through. And then, of course, old girl Lauren London trying to be spiritual and stuff says, every human is going to have to go through it. Of course, we all know that. We all know we will experience death. We all have our dates set in stone. But there's something very eerie about that. And the fact that Andrew Martinez, she said it twice. She was pointing it out like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, were you preparing yourself for Nipsey to die? Did you even love him in the first place? Which I highly doubt. Y'all know how this industry stuff is set up. Most of these people are set up with these, Hollywood starlets, like Jaguar Wright said. Nipsey came into the game. He got with a Hollywood chick. She was Wayne's chick. He's been passed around. The last part of that clip, which just happened to be even more support of Diddy being involved in this, he's actually the one to call her. Of course. And when I was listening to it, I just knew Diddy name was about to pop up. The way that it was going, it was like, oh, I wasn't going to wear anything, but someone called me. I just knew Diddy name was finna come up. Next thing you know, she says, yeah, it was Diddy that called me and told me to pick my head up, show him what it's like when it all crumbles, represent that. Doesn't that just sound eerie? It just sounds weird, right? Now, it may be, it may be correct to call someone and be like, throw some clothes on. Don't come looking all bummy and this and that, have some heart, be strong. That's okay. But, with everything we know about Diddy, everything we learning about what was going on with Nipsey, because the truth is yet to come out. Everything we got, her getting that call from the one and only P. Diddy just makes it that more eerie than it already was. Of course it was Diddy that called her. Ain't that just the weirdest thing, right? And if we want to move on to other, examples of the connection with Diddy, Lauren London, y'all remember Kodak Black when he tried to go at Lauren London and was like, yo, I'm gonna give you a year to grieve. I'm trying to get at you, blah, blah, blah. Also, when he was on, I think, an academics interview, he said, y'all getting mad at me, y'all coming at me. But Diddy was the one that was hitting Lauren London when she was with Nipsey. If I remember correctly, he said Diddy was hitting her while they were together. And then there was rumors that they were dating after Nipsey died, right after, because it even went all the way to TMZ. That's where I got this screenshotted photo from. This is from TMZ's page right here, because she supposedly shut down the dating rumors between her and Diddy. And I think this was right after Nipsey died. So this is how, little small things creep out that's really going on behind the scenes that most people didn't know or weren't paying attention to. But Kodak Black, obviously deep in the industry, so much shit about him as well. He put it out there already that they were smashing before Nipsey even died. So think about this. This is a giant web of, confusion, different theories, all kind of shit going on. Most of the time, this is nothing but the devil being in the details. Because, this is just a theory of, things going on that people weren't noticing. This is not the actual death scene and footage of Nipsey being on the stretcher and all that stuff I've went over in my previous videos about him, which I have a clip that I want to play that's an entirely different theory that I'm sure y'all have heard about Nipsey, on why he was really killed. But I think I might just do that on another video, make it like a little short one, and we can just kind of revisit this topic a little bit, because I kind of want to keep this video, just about this theory right here. But it's a very good one, very interesting. And it really just shows the devil being in the details. Just like I said, man, this is evil, wicked shit at its finest. And Lauren London is no exception. Just because people think she looks good, she's a woman, she this and that, but she's being used by these same devils, and she is participating in the same game. At the end of the day, she is no different. She is as evil, as wicked as they come in my eyes. She knew what was going on with Diddy and Cassie. She been knew about all this shit. She been participating in these rituals and sex rituals. She's done it all. There's no doubt in my mind. And she just may have laid in bed with Nipsey and got him sacrificed, connected him to people that he didn't know would eventually end his life, all conspiring for one thing and one thing only. Now, was it so he didn't put out a Dr. Sebi documentary? That's left up, we will never really know that. Yes, Nick Cannon said he would continue it, and he never did. Of course, he's full of shit, just like the rest of them. There's a bunch of different theories out there on Nipsey Hussle death. They took him out at 33 years old. Y'all already know what type of timing they are on. And the other clip I want to show y'all is when Charleston White talked about it, but he talks about it a little bit different. But we're going to do that one in another video. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up, just to keep the focus on what we've been talking about. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. If some of y'all ain't really heard or paid attention to this theory right here, please let me know what y'all think, man. Yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed that.
Go figure. Follow me.